over here. Hi guys, I'm just getting ready, so please wait. Hi Mio, nice to see you. You're so quick. Um, I just need to check the YouTube side because I always make mistakes on the YouTube side, so I've got to be careful. This one I Haishin, and then hey Margarita, how you doing? Hey Margarita, how you doing? Okay, so the sound is working. Now, Knots, nice to see you on the YouTube side. Can you hear me, Knots? I feel like I need to start paying you to help me, you know, test my sound and everything. Um, Chat goes here. Right. Very good, Knots. Thank you. How did your tests go? I hope they went well. Um, and then that can go. That can go here, I think. Right. You're fantastic. Good, Margarita. You're waiting for my lotion. Thank you so much. I'm very lucky to have you, people coming to my stream and watching. Hopefully today we're gonna have some people on stage to come and chat with me, discuss a lot of different things, and you can hear a different viewpoint compared to my boring old voice all the time. So yeah, looking forward to that. Let me just put this here, and then okay, great. And then I can see the YouTube chat on this side. Oops. Oh no. Okay, that should be fine. Right. No, thank you, Margarita. It's very nice to have you here. And just while we wait for people to come in stream, let's warm up. What should I talk about? Any questions? Today, did you guys do anything nice? I mean, here in Tokyo, it was absolutely boiling. Like, oh my gosh, someone, please, I wish there was like AC, air conditioning, but like for the earth, right? Because when you go outside, you just in 5-10 seconds you start sweating again, you feel sticky, and then you get on the train and you're just packed together like a can of sardines, and it's just terrible. Ugh. There you go. But yeah, and what was it? I hope you had a nice weekend. For me, did I do much today? I didn't do a lot. Well, actually, I taught in the morning, and then I had a language exchange with one friend. I went to a language exchange event after that. Then I came back. I was rushing home from my like language exchange thing, and then I took a Japanese lesson for the last hour and 10 minutes, and we had a really nice conversation about like Japanese TV shows. But yeah, did a lot of talking today, and now we're going to do even more. But hopefully, fingers crossed, you guys will be doing more of the talking. I really hope some people will be brave enough to come on stage and share their opinions, because we have some really interesting questions today. But oh, nice to see you, Woo. How are you doing? Thank you for the gift. And yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed. Let me put this over here. But yeah, we'll get started very soon. Let me just rearrange my windows. How can I do this? Because if I put this here... No. Sorry, give me a minute just to rearrange my windows. So let's put this one over here. The main screen, is that okay? And then... yeah, I think this is okay. Right. Okie dokie. So, question, Margarita, what should we do when we feel stuck speaking English? Ooh, that's a good question. It depends on why you're getting stuck. If you're talking about like, how do I, speak more smoothly? How do I start talking again? Well, it depends on the problem. So, for example, if you get stuck speaking because you forget a word, then my advice would be to just, use different words, use simple words and give examples. So, for example, if I'm thinking about the word ambulance, that white car that comes when somebody's in an emergency, let's say, the other day I had a crazy accident. I was walking through the train station and then somebody collapsed, and then, I started to call the. Huh? Wait. Um, Many people will focus too much on remembering the key word. Now, it's good to try and recall a word, and I would say maybe 4 or 5 seconds. That's okay, but anything more than that, just to keep the conversation going, just to keep it flowing, um, especially if you're in an emergency situation where every second is crucial, very important, then you just say, "Oh, somebody call, the white car that helps injured people." It doesn't matter if your grammar is not perfect. I mean, if you're in an English exam, then it might be important. But in general conversation, keeping the conversation going, yeah, keeping the flow smooth, that's more important than remembering the right word. Okay? Um, but it really does depend. Hi, Alessia, nice to see you. All right. But yeah, it really does depend. But vocabulary is the most common problem and reason why people get stuck. Okay. Um, but yeah, this is slightly off topic, but I feel like test English, and I think Alessia knows a lot about this. But like, test English is very different to real life English, and these exams, what was it, IELTS, TOEIC, and things like that. They're super important and they can, change your life when it comes to getting jobs. But sometimes the vocabulary is a bit like too formal, too like scientific. And when I hear it in casual conversation, I'm like, oh, okay, wow, this guy has studied a lot. And it's not bad by any means. So, but anyway. How's life in Japan? It's very good, thank you. I'm eating sushi every day. No, I'm not. But it's very bad. But I should be cooking more, but I don't have a microwave, so I'm eating a lot of like instant food. Today, I had a very busy day, and after this live stream, I'm gonna finish at like 11 p.m. So I'll probably just have like instant noodles. It's very bad, I know, but I'm tired. But during the week, I usually cook like pasta or something. But okay, I'm expecting Alessia to come on stage. Not forcing you. I just think she's a very good speaker, and she is very capable of coming on and debating about these things. Um, do you think listening to British and American accent in the same time, is that okay, or make you stuck, especially when shadowing? So it's up to you. If you want a more neutral accent, then maybe a bit of both is fine. But I will say most people don't care if you have an American, a British, or a mixed accent. It might sound unnatural. I recommend focusing on one or the other. But it's totally your choice, yeah. Just whichever one you prefer. But, finding a drama or finding content that you really enjoy is the most important thing. So if you really like this British drama and this American podcast, go for it, yeah? The most important thing is that you continue. Okay? Good question. Pop some veggies in that. I should put some. You reminded me. I have some frozen spring onions. Okay, right. Let's jump into the lesson. I've kept you waiting long enough. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to do a bit of debate practice. practice, yeah? When we talk about debates, a lot of people think that debating is like kind of similar to getting into an argument, you know, being too serious and kind of like always being right. And to be honest, a lot of debates often do become like arguments because unfortunately we as humans are opinions. Now, this is the difficult thing in debates. You shouldn't really just share opinions or a personal experience because it's just that. It's just one experience. Yeah, it's not as strong or it doesn't have that persuasive power as objective data and hundreds of studies that have been done over many years, right? So when you're debating, do try to avoid saying, I think A because, you know, I met someone who did this and things like that. Generally, you're not going to persuade many people like that. Um, Now, debates, you do need to do a lot of research, but today we don't have time for that, so I'm just going to give you some time to think about these topics, and I'll give you some ideas to help you, you know, get some ideas and, you know, form your argument, okay? And then you're going to share your argument on stage, okay? So, I think we're ready to jump in. Sorry, Alessia says, I swear I would buy them daily after 8 p.m. Ah, you know, it's because you live in China. Do they have the same thing in China? By the way, guys, if you're from Europe, well, I don't know about Europe actually, but in the UK, we don't have this. After a set time, like 7 p.m., it depends on the store, but they will discount like fresh food, especially those like cooked meals, like lunch boxes, by like maybe 40%, 50%, and like, oh my gosh, like all the experienced veterans, think about the Black Friday chaos, right? People shoving each other like, that's my lunchbox, get out of here. And it's like, I'm older, you should respect your elders, get out. Anyway, it's not really like that. Of course, I'm over exaggerating, but no, it's a really good way to save money if you can go at that time. They actually do, and not only for sushi. Ah, yeah, because raw fish, it goes bad very quickly, right? So gotta eat it. Anyway, sorry. Right, if you're following me for the first time, thank you, Kevin, Karina. What was it? You'll notice that I sometimes go off topic, and I might be a bit hard to follow, so I do apologize. I get a bit excited sometimes. So, all right, let's have a look at topic number 1. Well, actually, let me show you all 4 of the topics we will look at today. I'm going to read these out loud. Number 1, AI is causing more harm than good. Okay. Number 2, teenagers who commit crimes should be punished like adults. Number 3, people should need to take an IQ test before they can vote. And number 4, people spoil their children too much these days. Okay? And then there's one secret one at the very end. Yeah, something to look forward to. Now, I did say that it's not good to share your personal opinion. It's better to use data, statistics, and facts. But, hey, you guys didn't have time to prepare. Hey, I've been busy with other things. I'm not an expert on all of these topics. So for today, don't worry, you know, share your opinion, give your ideas and feelings. Don't worry too much about being the best debater. Today we're focusing on just clear communication, yeah? And when there's like this gap, when I don't understand what you're saying, I might ask you, hey, could you explain that in a slightly different way? What do you mean by this? And we're just going to focus on giving you guys speaking practice, okay? So don't worry about being too serious or perfect, yeah? Relax, alright? Okay, hi Noriko, nice to see you. But yeah, so for the first thing, I'm going to show the answer here. Let me skip to the next one. I want to quickly tell you guys a very useful phrase. Now, today, I'm not going to be the main speaker, okay? Unless nobody comes on stage, then I have no choice. Um, but hopefully, one of you will come on stage from Hello Talk, and I'm going to do what we call play devil's advocate. Yeah, I use this phrase in my Moments post. And play devil's advocate means to take the opposite position to talk about a topic more deeply. Okay? Now, let me explain this. Have you ever been in a meeting or just like with your friends and you're trying to decide something, right? And everybody's kind of like on the fence, right? You're kind of not decided. And then one person says, I think we should do this. And because no one has any strong feelings, everybody's a bit indecisive. Everybody's like, yeah, sure, sounds good. Yeah, why not? Yeah, because it's just easier to follow, right? And especially in these business meetings where I don't know about other cultures, but in Japan and Asia, generally seniors, the people with a high position, when they say something, especially if you're in a meeting with like 100 people, it's really hard to say, no, I disagree, or like, take the opposite position. But here's the problem. When everyone agrees, there's nothing to discuss. We don't even think about the possible risks, the possible downsides of that first proposition, that first idea, right? So it's always good if you have the time to have both sides, even if you do not really believe in that idea. Yeah. So this is why today I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't actually disagree with you, but I'm going to pretend to disagree so that we can have a deeper discussion and maybe challenge you a little bit. Okay? Does that make sense? Okie dokie. Well, I need to drink a lot of water because it's absolutely boiling here, so 1 second. Alright, so let's have a look at part 1. AI is doing more harm than good. Okay? For now, I'm not going to take people on stage yet. I just want you to do a bit of brainstorming, a bit of kind of here, behind this big black square, there are some ideas. Okay? But first of all, I want you, maybe you can choose one side, or maybe you can think about both, pros and cons, agree, disagree. Yeah? So AI is doing more harm than good. Yeah? Reasons for, yes, AI is doing a lot of damage. Yeah, a few ideas. And then, if you're feeling confident, maybe think about some counterpoints. So, no, AI is actually doing a lot of good. It's helping us in many ways. Examples, ideas, maybe some of your personal experiences if you want. Okay? I'll give you just a few minutes. Maybe let's set a timer for 2 minutes, okay? And maybe using a notepad, drawing like a square and cutting it in half. Yes, no, okay? So I'm just going to set a timer for 2 minutes. Timer. Sorry, I should have prepared this beforehand. Let's go over here. All right. Ooh. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think about this. And then for the people that want to come on stage, pick one side, okay? And then get ready to share why you think this is, correct. Okay? So just 2 minutes. Wrong button. Sorry. There are too many buttons. And then I'm going to take someone on stage. I really hope somebody is going to be brave enough, yeah? Because if no one comes, then it's just going to be me speaking again. Right. So, are you for? Do you agree that AI is doing more harm or bad than good? Or are you against? Do you disagree? No, AI is actually doing a lot of good things. Give you 40 seconds again, just some rough ideas. Don't think too much. Just get a few key points. And then let's have a quick discussion. Oh, somebody already writing some ideas in the comments. Very nice, yeah. You don't have to write your ideas in the comments yet, but you can. And maybe as we are discussing, there will be lots of interesting ideas. So as we are debating, as we're discussing, please do, share your opinions and ideas. And if you can, like Wani here, yeah, use some studies. That's perfect. That's maybe the best kind of evidence. All right, so the timer is up, okay? So I think everybody has a few ideas. Now, I'm going to help you guys, and I'm going to show you. Oh, here are some ideas. However, I haven't told you if they are supporting, for, or against. I will let you decide and think about this. So I'm going to give you maybe another 2 minutes. And then let's take somebody on stage, okay? Oh, by the way, if you're a free user on HelloTalk, I will quickly link my YouTube so that you can continue watching there when your time runs out, okay? So thank you, Wani. All right, so I'm just going to give you maybe another minute and 30 seconds. Look at these ideas. Are they for and against? And then let's get ready to discuss. So let's set maybe 1 minute and 30. Okay, ooh, Catalina is ready, okay. So if there are many people who want to come on stage for one topic, then maybe I will make the discussion a bit shorter because I want to give everybody a fair chance to kind of... Oh, sorry, I'm blocking the ideas with this, yeah? So just to show you guys, we have job loss, human connection, efficiency, education, disabled people, bias and discrimination, privacy, ethics, deep fakes, economy, and medicine. Okay? All right. So these are the ideas. Now, I can see that we do have 20 more seconds. Catalina has raised her hand first, so I will let Catalina come on stage. And then if there are other people, then we will give Catalina her chance to talk, and then we'll swap to the next person. Okay? All right, so time is up. Now let's bring someone on stage, okay? So, Catalina, I'm going to bring you on. Welcome to the stage. Okay.
Hi.
Catalina, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Great.
me?
I can hear you wonderfully, loud and clear. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
What about you?
I'm very good, thank you. I had a pretty relaxed day, but it's
That's
really too
great.
hot. Yeah. Is it hot in your country? I guess, are you from China?
Yeah, it's been here as well. Like,
Okay. Mm.
yeah, I guess, yeah, because I'm in China, so it might be similar.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar, but yeah, please do take care in the summer heat, okay? But
Yeah, I
yeah,
will. And
okay.
you too.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
so right, so I believe
Yes.
that AI is causing more harm than
Mm-hmm.
good
Great.
because it
Of
can
course.
actually can reinforce existing bias, like
Ooh.
because the AI is kind of like a database and it can only have the opinions that you know people have, and I mean the
Very good.
existing opinions online. That's the AI has collected the data, and then there'll be yeah only that.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, there'll be there might be fabricating data because um, it's not reliable.
Very
Like
good.
sometimes it can be giving like false information,
Mm.
and that we just can't really rely on that.
Very true.
But
Mm.
there is one opposite opinion, is that I do believe that it helps with critical thinking
Ooh,
because
interesting.
people people have to identify what is correct and
Mm-hmm.
what is acceptable
Mm.
in our modern society to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we avoid the bias and we
Mm-hmm.
identify the fabricated data and stuff so
Definitely.
that we can use that more efficiently.
Mm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
my opinion on this.
That's a very
Sorry, it's
good
a bit
start.
of mine.
No, no, that was great. So I guess you're generally against, or rather, you agree that what was it? AI is doing more harm than good because you believe it reinforces, existing biases as it only uses the data that's kind of input into the system. And then there's a lot of
Yes.
problems with misinformation. However, an unexpected side effect, or positive, on the other hand, is that it encourages critical thinking because of all of this misinformation, and we have to really take everything with a grain of salt. Is that right?
Yeah, so it very much depends on the individual, like
True.
how they're doing it. Is anyone guiding them?
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have, let's say, children, like if
Yeah.
they have not yet formed their worldview, what they can do is that
Mm.
their teachers help them with the identifying the data and
Mm-hmm.
pick the part that they can use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. I guess the way, especially, we have to think about the next generation, right, and what they think, because, sorry, not what they think, how we kind of teach them how to use AI, because I guess for random facts like what's the capital of Canada, you see, but in China you don't use Google, right? What do you use in China to search for information?
Well, we use Baidu, and we
Baidu,
also
right.
used Biying. We
Okay.
use loads of other engines as well. I
Mm.
use Little Red Book, which is Xiaohongshu. But
Okay.
the
Mm.
main thing here is that it's pretty much like diverse.
Okay.
But we do focus on some main platforms. Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. And on Baidu, does it have this kind of AI summary where it kind of just grabs data from many different sources and just puts one like summary at the top?
Yeah, it does
It
for
does,
some
okay.
topics, but I
Oh,
don't know like whether it's for all the topics. I suppose
right, I see.
not, but
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Because, like, for, as I said earlier, simple facts, like what's the capital of Canada, it should be fine. But for more complex
Yeah.
things, like what should I do if I have a headache, like medical things, that where,
Mm,
accuracy is super important, if a child relies on that, does the wrong thing, it could put their life in danger. So I think we have to really be careful of how we raise our children and teach them how to look for
yeah.
information.
Yeah, so that's the literacy
Mm.
of artificial intelligence.
Mm. Mm.
So I think it should be sort of like course that we teach in school, or
Mm.
we can just try to convey the idea
Very good.
through the teaching of each subject so that the children can identify what kind of information they can use from AI.
Definitely, yeah. But really good points. Well done. I loved your answer, and what was it? I almost said the Japanese. Your pronunciation is very clear. Really well done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I am going to play a bit of devil's advocate here. So generally, would you say you are for or against AI?
Well,
If you
me,
had to lean to one side, are you like on the fence,
mm,
or are you leaning towards one side?
well, I say that it still causes more harm than good.
Okay.
If it's it very much depends on who's using that. But
Mm, mm, mm,
if we say everyone, I
mm.
say that if you cannot identify the information, yeah, it will cause more harm than good.
Okay. Interesting. Right. So let me kind of give a counterpoint. Um, it's a
Yeah,
reality that AI has made some things a lot more efficient. And, just boring
yeah,
tasks like marking tests or things like that. Of course, it sometimes makes mistakes, but don't you think that AI can be used to speed up a lot of things and, make more time so that we can focus on other things like studying more and things like that?
yeah. It does help people in that way, but it can also you know, as we say, they can fabricate the data and it can be biased so that we will also take time to
Mm,
rectify that.
mm,
So in that way I don't think it's really saves us time, because some
mm,
people can just use AI
mm,
and just not think about it, and they'll get the wrong information and everything. And
mm, mm, mm,
it's difficult to come through all of this. If you ask AI to write to you, let's say extremely long explanation,
mm,
I'm pretty sure that there are loads of false information in that, and you have to do your job.
mm. Okay. Um, I think you're focusing on the point. I agree with you, by the way. Um, However, AI can be used not just to gather information, but it can also be used to do certain tasks. Like if I say, for example, here is a list of names, and then I just copy and paste like a student list. Please organize these names in alphabetical order. In this case, it's not getting data from the internet, but it can still do the task for me and save me some time. So don't you think it could be used in this way?
For simple tasks like this, you can actually go without AI
Oh,
because you
okay.
can use an Excel form, right?
Oh, okay. Right. Can you tell me more about that?
I mean, you can just, I don't know much about technology,
Okay.
but I say that if you use an Excel form, as I remember, you can rank the things, I mean, quite efficiently,
Hmm.
and also you can, play things in alphabetical order, like using, I mean, even, even Word can do that, I say.
How do you do that in Word?
Well, you just, well, there's a way of ranking that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've not been writing, I've not, yeah, so there are, no, yeah, you
That's
can,
okay.
I don't know how you do that in
Hmm.
different countries,
Okay.
but we can use the ranking, kind of it kind of looks like a
Hmm.
pyramid, but
Oh,
half a pyramid,
okay.
yeah, that sort of thing. And you can use pinyin
Hmm.
to do that. So
I
that's
My problem with Word and Excel doing this, I agree it might be possible, but if you don't use Excel or Word daily as a part of your job, especially for children who are not so familiar with this software, don't you think it would be a lot easier to just tell AI, please arrange these in alphabetical order. Like, you don't need any specialist knowledge for that, right?
Yeah, in that way, yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can agree that AI can be used to simplify or save time on simple tasks, but perhaps for more
Yeah.
complex tasks, especially tasks that require gathering data from many sources, that's when the accuracy might get a lot worse and maybe we can't rely on it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
Did you have any, yeah, final comments or other?
I don't have any other
No.
opinions on this.
But no, I like that you brought in your, like, what was it, knowledge of using Word and Excel. And actually, I didn't really know that you could do that automatically. So maybe I'm gonna have to, look into that. But very good ideas, and I like that you didn't back down and you kind of tried to continue to argue. So very well done. Um, do
Thank
you
you.
have any other kind of things that you think are good? Oh, sorry, that are bad about AI? Because you're kind of against AI here. Maybe thinking about things like, do you know what deepfakes are?
Yeah.
Can you quickly explain to me what a deepfake is?
Uh, deep fake. Well, just a sec. I
It's okay.
no,
Are
I just
you
a sec.
are you looking
Okay,
at
I'm
AI
really
to
trying
help
to.
you? No, I'm checking.
No, I just want to. Yeah, so I'm looking at the online dictionary
Okay,
because I just have to ensure that I'm seeing the right definition here.
okay,
So it's a video
okay.
image of someone, someone's body, face, or voice has been altered so that they appear to be someone else,
Yes.
to spread false information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it can be used to impersonate someone
Very
as
good
well,
word,
like
impersonate. Nice.
very efficiently. And
Mm-hmm.
some people's faces, it can be, used in making illegal content, like uh, let's say porn and
Mm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
illegal things, so that
Very true.
it can also you know, harm their reputation.
Definitely.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that can be, yeah, it can be true.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, at the moment, I say that sometimes can be quite convincing, and if
Definitely.
you use that, it can also be that because we use, face identifier. I don't know how you say that, and
Oh, in
to
China.
identify your face. Yeah, sometimes you use that to identify that you are the owner of a house, or
Right,
your,
I see.
your bank account,
Mm-hmm.
your, those sort of things.
Okay.
And if you use deep fake, it might be
True.
possible that they can, you know, they can kind of like invade
Mm-hmm.
people's like personal space,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
yeah,
Exactly. I didn't think about that. I forgot. Yeah, because we don't have it in the UK, but maybe in the future we might. But yeah, like there are any electronic equipment or device could possibly be
yeah,
tampered with. There are many issues with hacking and with AI. I guess one of the problems is that it's so accessible. Anybody can just log
yeah,
on to ChatGPT and say, "Can you make a video of this?" And people have already done it with like presidential speeches, making them say things that they didn't really say. So defamation,
yeah,
misinformation, and in this case with China, with the what was it, cameras using facial recognition to maybe
yeah.
identify a house's owner and then unlocking the gate because the face matches. That could have terrible consequences.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
So let's hope that it doesn't develop that fast, because otherwise we'll have to find different ways of identifying
true,
people.
exactly.
Yeah.
I guess.
Apart from that, yeah, it does. I do have the concern that it might make people, not as literate. I say, like they because loads of times we are scrolling through information that's
Mm,
generated by AI, and
mm,
that
mm, mm.
we might be thinking like AI,
Yeah.
and we might use phrases like delve into, like that's
Mm, mm.
typically like AI sort of like phrases,
Definitely.
and it might be that we are learning from AI, but
Mm, mm,
they're not, you know, they're not humans, so
mm.
that can be a huge problem there.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess my general rule of thumb for AI or when to use it is personally, if I can already do the task without the aid or help of AI, and I just want to speed things up, then
Yeah,
yes, I would say it's acceptable. But if you're using it to fill a gap in your skill or knowledge to do something that you can't already do, then you're kind of stealing that chance for yourself to grow. And many
yeah,
people might argue, oh, but AI is going to be available from now on. We might as well get used to it. But I wonder if that's really true. I don't know. But
no, sometimes you can go without
mm,
electricity, you
true,
can
exactly.
be trapped in a place.
Yeah, exactly.
And at that time, if you don't have the skills, it
Mm,
can be extremely dangerous
mm,
and
mm,
not beneficial at all. So,
definitely.
yeah, I agree with you on
Mm,
that. It's
mm.
like you do have to use your brain, but sometimes I feel like, AI has infiltrated every corner of the internet, and it can be hard for us to have original thinking.
Mm, mm, definitely. By the way, I'm so impressed with your vocabulary, like infiltrated. That was a great word. Can I slightly go off topic? Can you quickly tell me one way that you study vocabulary?
Well, normally I say that I collect
Mm,
vocabulary. It's like collecting stamps, so that
I like that.
every time when I see a new word, I
Mm,
look it up, and
okay.
then I just go back into reading. So that's how I sort of like entertain myself, because
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
oh, I collected so many words today. It's so good.
That's true. That's an interesting way of putting it. I think making vocabulary or learning vocabulary more physical, like as you said,
Hmm.
maybe filling up a page in your notebook. And you know, there are some people who have those really beautiful notebooks, and when you open it, it's like, oh, like it's almost like art, and I just want to look at it and I learn something at the same time. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, making it physical, that's great. That's wonderful. But, okay, interesting. But what was it? Sorry, to get back on topic. So AI, as we've discussed, deepfakes could be particularly dangerous, especially with defamation and things like that. Um, what do you think about maybe AI being used to help disabled people? For example, like text to speech. I know this was before
Yeah.
AI, but I've heard that AI can accelerate and maybe make it even faster, this process of like text to speech, especially for people who are
Yeah.
like deaf or maybe they can't speak
Yeah.
well, translation, especially translation.
Hmm.
What do you think
Hmm.
about being used to help, disabled people?
Well, I think it can be impressive in terms of, helping people with,
Hmm.
hearing problems,
Yeah.
and also like some people, if they can't write, they have dyslexia or
True.
something, like
Very true.
they can be, if you use text to speech, that can be also very convenient.
Mm, mm,
Apart
mm.
from that, yeah, I think it's in other ways, because I was once in a meeting where
Okay.
one of my friends, she's deaf, so that
Right.
I can also benefit from
Definitely.
her AI to
Mm, mm,
read through the notes and make sure that I don't miss any information, because it was quite advanced level for me at that time.
mm,
So
mm,
I think it can be helpful for many people, like disabled or not disabled, like
mm,
uh, but it can it can be sort of like concern for people who need physical aid. because AI right now is not very physical, so that
True.
it's not really like clutches, it's not really like
Yeah.
wheelchairs, so that
Mm-hmm.
I think in the future we if there's a way of using AI to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
using AI as a remote control or
Mm-hmm.
something, it
Mm-hmm.
might be very helpful for people with mobility issues.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. As you said, it's not used physically so much. There might be an application in the future. However, I don't know if it's physical, but it has been used in medicine to
Okay.
visually detect.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. I mean, again, this might be misinformation as well. But when they have like an X-ray scan of like a lung,
Mm-hmm.
the bones, or something. Now, until now, doctors have been looking at X-ray scans directly and saying, "Ooh, that part looks a bit dark, or is there a strange shape?" They're doing it by eye, right? But
Yeah.
recently they've tried to use AI, again, using data from thousands, millions of pictures, um,
Yeah.
to train the AI to detect maybe possible
Yeah.
abnormalities or strange things. And then I guess the final check is done by a doctor. And especially with
Yeah.
doctors, we know they're overworked. Sometimes they have super long days, especially during COVID, right? So it wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprising if they missed some of these small things on the scan. So, do you think that maybe AI might be good for this kind of situation?
It might be helpful. I don't know if you can set up like a a virtual reality for not virtual reality.
Mm.
It's like setting a model for that, so that
Mm.
it's like it's not like a physical model, but you can
Mm.
do
True.
some sort of like operations on that. I
Mm.
think it might be helpful,
It might
but
be
I'm not
helpful.
so
Mm.
sure if that's AI. It might be other types of technology to
Mm.
help as well.
I
Uh,
I think it is AI, but I can't be 100% sure. So yeah, the reason why I think it might be AI is because it's referencing thousands of
okay,
pictures, like from a database or on the internet,
right,
and then
yeah.
comparing the current image with those things. But again, it might
Mm-hmm.
not be 100% AI. You're right, I think.
Yeah.
But okay, very good ideas. Well done. Um, just as a final question before I move on to the comments and maybe give someone else a chance to speak, let's
Yeah.
change the question slightly. Instead of saying AI is doing more harm than good, should, or rather, we should ban AI completely. 100%. We should just get rid of it, erase it from the earth, and just go back to a time before AI. Do you agree or disagree with this? Should we erase AI completely?
I wouldn't say that we should erase AI
Okay.
because, of course, there are, as you said, that it can
Hmm.
help with simple tasks. It can be very helpful. It
Hmm.
can be
Hmm.
very helpful for people who are um, disabled. I mean, in certain types of disabilities,
Hmm.
not all sorts of disability can be helped. Um, it can, it can also help
Hmm.
you train your brain if you use it in the correct way, if
Yeah.
you use it with guidance, and if
Hmm.
you have done your research
Hmm.
so that you can. It, it is possible in the
Yeah.
future that we can train AI to erase those bias and
Hmm.
those fabricated data,
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
to the minimum so that
Hmm.
in that way we can maximize the use of AI and also if we've got a way of screening
Hmm.
what is AI and what isn't, so that we can make sure
True.
that we ingest the meaningful information from the internet, not those kind of like things that were
Hmm.
made by current day AIs. I think
Exactly.
we'll be fine.
Very good. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. I agree. Like, if we can somehow control the maybe information that is input, because I
Okay?
guess one of the problems is that it's getting information from everywhere, including false sources or wrong sources. So if we can, for
Yeah,
example, have it only get information from what was it, recognized organizations or institutions like the
right.
WHO and things like that, then of course the output is going to be a lot more reliable, I guess. But
Yeah, it can be a lot more reliable, but
mm,
I believe they can also reinforce some bias over there as well because,
that's
of
true
course,
as
it can be
well.
professional, but we, we can also see bias like
Mm-hmm.
here and there, and there are certain things that
Mm.
we can't really say that whether it's biased because all of the words, some certain things, they are always biased. They are
Yeah,
not
it's
going
almost
to be
impossible.
a choose. I mean, there's not going to be a choose over there.
Mm, very true. But yeah, I agree. It's like it's impossible to erase bias completely because it's a part of human nature. And
Yeah,
no matter how much we do our best to erase bias, we all have different experiences. We all have different, ideas
yeah,
and ways of being raised that it's only natural to have some bias. But yeah. Hmm.
yeah.
All right, but
Mm.
very well done. I have to say, you have set a very high standard, Catalina. But no, really good job. Your vocabulary is brilliant, pronunciation wonderful, and most importantly, your logic was very clear, and you didn't, you addressed both sides of the argument. So, very well done. That was great.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Okay.
Thank you for giving me this
No, no,
opportunity
not at
to
all.
come on stage and
Thank you.
discuss this interesting topic.
Yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. I loved your input, especially, the viewpoint when you brought up the kind of cameras in China that do facial recognition. That's something that I never would have thought of. So thank you for providing that unique viewpoint. Hmm. But
Thank you.
yeah, I hope you have a wonderful evening and thank you so much for
You
coming on
too.
stage, okay? Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye bye. There we
Bye.
go. Wow. Like, I was not expecting such a high level speed. Of course, guys, don't worry if you're not as good as her. Don't worry if you make mistakes because, no one's perfect. Heck, I think I made a few English mistakes when I was speaking to Catalina, but great start. So let me just quickly read some of the comments on both sides. Let's have a look. Oh, oh. Sorry. So what was it? Wani said there are a lot of positive things about AI. It reduces time to do things, so efficiency, and it can make things that take days only take hours. Yeah, so efficiency a big theme here. Okay, AI is good for healthcare, and AI is an important tool for us. Very nice. Thank you for your comments. And then on the YouTube side, somebody said, sorry, IFSA, there's a famous saying, I want AI to do my chores so I can do art, not the other way around. But as you see, nothing is like that. AI is becoming a part of everything. Interesting. So I want to do AI to do my chores so I can do art. So, in other words, it should be a tool that allows us to enjoy life more. That makes sense. I'm trying to think about this, like, because I wonder if doing the chores, is there any benefit from doing chores yourself? Now, it's not AI, but we have a lot of those, like, Roomba, those, like, automatic vacuum cleaners that can clean the room even when we're outside of the house and things like that. So I guess for chores and simple tasks, as we discussed earlier, definitely. We should use it to free up time so we can focus on other things. I think the problem here is when we use it to deal with complex issues where there is a serious risk if we get something wrong, right? But interesting. Hmm. Um, I disagree. We should also look at positive things that it does. Yeah, I think we had a good discussion on both sides. Yeah, but definitely chores might keep you in shape. That's a very good point. Yeah. Um, But maybe when you're like older, again, disabled people, yeah, using AI to help fill that gap, because you physically cannot do something, that would be wonderful. So, I guess the key point to finish on is maybe if you can benefit or learn something or improve something about yourself by doing something manually, maybe it's not a good idea to use AI. I think maybe that's one way of summarizing this topic. But anyway, let's move on. So I gave you a bunch of ideas, and oops, here, education, it can be used to maybe, be a language practice partner. It can improve the economy, maybe making things more efficient. We talked about medicine and helping disabled people. However, on the flip side, we have the problem of deep fakes, a lot of misinformation, defamation, yeah, making people's reputations much worse. Job loss, yeah, a lot of people are actually, losing their jobs because of AI programmers, yeah. I don't know if you know the company Duolingo, but they've started using a lot of AI and they kind of, kicked out a lot of people who were doing those jobs. I'm not sure if that's 100% true. Maybe it was just an article, maybe an AI article that kind of just wanted to get a catchy headline. But if it is true, then I wouldn't be too surprised. Yeah. Human connection. I think, for example, guys, don't you just hate AI chatbots? Like, when it's the same when you're on the phone, but I think the phone is still okay. Like, when it asks you, please press 1 if you have a complaint about our products. Please press 2 if you have forgotten your password, and things like that, right? I can understand that because, especially in large companies, they have different departments to deal with different things like complaints, returning products, and things like that. But for AI chatbots, I don't know. I feel like they take a lot of time, and again, it's kind of irritating, when they kind of ask you, "Have you checked this, this, and this?" and they give you this like long wall of text. Like, no, nobody has the time to read all of that, right? It's like when you have a contract. Please read this contract and sign. It's like, well, you want me to read like all of it? Like this is 10 pages long, and like maybe it's not my first language. Like, there's no way anybody really reads every single line in a contract, right? Although you should, especially if it's a work contract. But for like signing up for a SIM card, then maybe not. But anyway. So yeah, going back to the topic, apologies. Yeah, human connection. It's not great for human connection, and as Catalina also said, Catalina, bias and discrimination is also a big issue. Okay, but there we go. All right, so I'm gonna end that there. That was a great first topic. Let's move on to topic number 2. People should be asked to pass an IQ test before being able to vote. Okay? So in other words, anybody right now, in the UK at least, over 18 can vote. It doesn't matter if you're just, turned 18 yesterday. Doesn't matter if you're 80 years old. It doesn't matter if you're an expert in politics or you know nothing about politics. Anybody can vote. What do you think? Do you think that people maybe should be asked to pass an IQ test or like prove that, hey, I actually know about politics, I've done some reading, I follow the news? Or do you think it's okay to maybe let people who don't know anything about politics to vote? What do you think? I'm going to give you some time to think about this. And maybe I'll give you 1 minute just to look at these ideas. Yeah, I hope you are all warmed up. Yeah, again, using a notepad and maybe some pencil and paper, write down for, against, agree, disagree. What do you think? Hi, Safia, nice to see you. I have my personal opinion about this, but actually, maybe I'm on the fence. Okay? I can hear you guys thinking very seriously. I can almost feel you guys writing and typing on your phones, laptops, or paper, thinking very seriously. Okay, so hopefully you got some ideas. Just to help you out a bit more, here are some other suggestions. Okay, so we have things like biased tests, that is IQ tests, discussion, representation, political bias, misinformation, again, undemocratic, does IQ equal wisdom, critical thinking, and then who decides? Maybe who decides which IQ tests we use? And are those IQ tests fair? Right. I'm going to give you 1 more minute to think about this, and maybe we will take somebody on stage if anybody is feeling brave enough. So, 1 minute. Yeah, this one's a bit of a tough one. And if you like, if no one comes on stage, I will share my opinion first. And when you're listening, maybe you can think, oh, that's an interesting point, and you can come on stage and maybe counter my point. Maybe you can play devil's advocate. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. So, let's have a look. Is there anybody who wants... Oh, there's no one who wants to come on stage. So, maybe I'll share my opinion first and maybe give you more time to think about this. And if anybody wants to come on stage, please raise your hand anytime from now. Okay? So, when I thought about this question, as I mentioned earlier, anybody can vote. And I've had a lot of experiences where I've just listened to. I don't like to talk about politics generally. But when I talk to people, I feel that many people get very emotional. And that's fair, because these issues, politics, is one of the most important things that we have to think about, right? Because it affects our everyday life. Politics and laws and all of these things affect how comfortable it is to live. It affects our legal system. When there's injustice, if somebody does something wrong, how do we punish them? All of these we kind of take for granted, but we wouldn't have all of these systems that help make us live comfortably if we didn't have politics, or we didn't decide things using politics. Yeah. I actually, at first, was for this idea. I think, or rather I thought, people should be asked to pass the IQ test because, as I said, people generally get very emotional. They're not very good at looking at things objectively, taking both sides. And after studying psychology, I've realized even myself, I'm not always good at getting to the truth. You know, for example, when we debate, when we have arguments or just discussions, a big problem is that people have pride. Now, it's good to be confident and have pride in your nationality and your opinions, but the problem is when you truly believe in something, whether it be your religion, a way of living, or just something related to values, especially if it's something that's a part of your way of life, something you've believed and kind of followed ever since you were a young child. When somebody denies that, when somebody disagrees with it, you are not going to just step down and say, hey, you're right, I completely agree. Like, it's a part of who you are. And that's sometimes the problem with these opinions and the belief in these opinions. The stronger you believe in something, the more resistant you are to change, right? Even if the opposite side is true. Now, again, very rarely do we know what the truth is, and we should be open to this discussion. But ego and pride often get in the way. Because how many times have you thought, maybe you're having a discussion with somebody and then in the middle you realize, oh, I was wrong. But, you've been speaking so confidently and everybody's watching you. Don't you feel it's embarrassing to just suddenly say like, oh, no, sorry, you're right? Because your opinion is often kind of connected to your way of thinking, and many people think, if my opinion is wrong, I'm stupid. And nobody wants to look stupid, right? But I think if we stay calm and we go into a discussion with an open mind, then it's a lot easier to admit if we are wrong. Yeah. The angrier you get, the more emotional and the louder you shout about something being true, the harder it becomes to just step back and say, actually, no, you're right. But if you're calm from the start, then it's a lot easier to just say like, yeah, I thought this, but actually you make a good point. So yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, it's not embarrassing at all, at least not in my opinion. So anyway, that's why I thought that people should be, asked to pass this IQ test, because I think that people with emotions, and not everybody is as reliable as other people. I will counter that point, but first let's look. Is there anybody? Nope, no comments. Okay, somebody says, Ifsa says, yes, there should be some things to filter people. Some people vote out of fun, which can affect the whole voting count, and they don't know what they are doing, selecting someone who doesn't deserve to be there. Good. So, this was a good point. Some people vote for fun. Some people do it because everybody else is doing it. And some people, when they go to the voting booth on the day, they decide, like, on the day, right? Because how many times have you heard, you should definitely go vote? You should definitely use your right to go and choose your next president or leader. And if you do not vote, you're not helping society. I think I understand where people are coming from when they say this, but being forced, not forced, but strongly encouraged, being pressured to vote when one, maybe you don't have an opinion, or two, you're not confident about, who to choose. I don't think it's always good to pressure people to vote in this situation, because if you're really not sure, it's just luck at this point, and it could, change the results. Yeah. If it's just one person, maybe not, but on a larger scale, if like thousands of people are just voting randomly because their parents told them to, something bad might happen. But again, I guess if it's random, if there are enough people, there should be an equal distribution of votes for each candidate. But yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, okay. So, nobody has any comments? Yeah? Now, to counter that point, why might using IQ tests be bad, in other words? Well, actually, it's because it's very undemocratic, looking at this point here. Yeah? Can anyone tell me, what is democracy? It's quite a difficult word to define, but can anyone quickly tell me, just in a few words, what is democracy? And maybe, why is it important? Now, not all countries have a democracy, right? Some countries like North Korea have what do you call it, authoritarian system. I apologize. Politics is actually one of my weakest areas in terms of general knowledge, so I'm kind of out of my depth here. Sorry, let me quickly take a drink. But this is good practice for me as well. Kimberly says freedom. Very good idea, yeah. Can you maybe expand on that a bit more? Let's ask AI. No, I'm joking. So it is related to freedom, Kimberly. Thank you. It's kind of the idea that, oh, interesting. SBNM, democracy is a stylish and modern form of control. Interesting. So here we have control and freedom, which are opposites. Yeah. If you control someone, they have no freedom. So which one is it? Bit of disagreement here in the comments. So I'm going to quickly rely on the dictionary because I really don't want to give you a wrong answer. But essentially, it's a system of government in which power is held by elected representatives who are freely voted for by the people. In other words, and I think the key point here is freely voted for by the people. Yeah. Now, we do have some rules, age limits, but generally a democratic system is where everybody is kind of equal. Yeah. A smart person's vote doesn't have more value than, a lower IQ person's vote. Yeah. But if we start, how do I say it, stopping people from voting because their IQ isn't high enough, then the whole system, the whole reason for democracy is lost. It's almost contradicting itself. And this is kind of related to the next point, but it says here, does IQ equal wisdom? Yeah. Now, I can't remember the last time I did an IQ test, but generally it's separated into different abilities, like, for example, shape recognition, like, what was it? If you rotate this 3D object 90 degrees, what picture would appear, or something like that, right? And as everybody knows, some people are very good at these shape puzzles. Other people are very good at recognizing patterns and things like that. How do we know if a good score on these different parts of the test are even related to politics, right? Um, because I don't know, maybe if there's an IQ test that involves memorizing, legal rules, or maybe like, I don't know, understanding the system, maybe. But general IQ tests, I don't know if they're a good measurement of real intelligence, right? Some people are just not good at tests, right? But there's also like real life wisdom, things that we learn not as a natural kind of instinct. It's not something we're born with, but it's often, the things we learn from talking to people, experiencing things in real life. And this is why, older people generally have a lot of advice to give. It's not because they're naturally intelligent, but it's often because they've seen many things and talked to many people. That's why they are so wise. Yeah, so. But, anyway, let's have a look at some of the comments. Ifsa, again, thank you for some great comments. What was it? I believe democracy means freedom, not the kind where you can do any kind of nonsense. Yeah, not like committing crimes. Um, what was it? But freedom of saying things and appreciating your thoughts. Definitely. Yeah. Often, now, people might try to include false information in their opinions. Like when they say, for example, you know, we shouldn't let all of these immigrants into our country, right? You know, for example, according to an article I read on my Facebook moms group, um, 100,000 immigrants came into the UK last year, blah, blah, blah. They might give information that's not wrong. However, just knowing that they feel so negatively, so strongly about immigrants is useful information. And it shows, especially politicians, and it shows everyone how the general public feel, because emotions are also important to consider, right? But anyway, so as a citizen of that country, your opinion should be respected and valued. Definitely, yeah. Even if you're not, politically smart, even if you're, haven't read the latest news, you live there. You're a citizen, and the end result is going to affect you. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense that you should have some choice in that decision that's going to affect you. But, okay. And then just reading more, Meal, I think it depends on what the voting is for. If you vote for the person, IQ testing might not be of use. Ooh, interesting. Okay. So maybe if we're voting for a law or a regulation or something like that, maybe it's more appropriate. Yeah. Also, it's difficult when you're voting for representatives because people can not lie, but I think before it has happened, politicians can make campaign promises. They say, when I am elected, I promise I will do this. But then they might go back on their word, they might break that promise, or they might do something different than what was expected. They might say something that's technically true, but they might twist those words and say, oh no, actually, I was going to do this. And then everybody's thinking, wait, that's not what we thought. It's like, hey, that's what I said, and things like that. So it's not impossible for things to go wrong when you're voting for people. But yeah, I agree. Maybe the IQ test is not so useful for certain voting points. Yeah, it's not the best English, but from my point of view, IQ and wisdom are different because even a person with low IQ can be wise. That's true, yeah. I think intelligence is the natural ability for your brain to imagine things, imagine shapes, detect patterns. But wisdom, I believe, is being able to understand or learn new things based on observing other people or maybe through direct experiences, right? It's something that you accumulate over your lifetime. As you get older, you become wiser. But your IQ doesn't generally increase. Okay? So that's the main difference. And then, yes, and they might forget all of their promises. Yeah, they might forget their promises. All right, so I apologize. I did see some people raising their hand. If you want to come on stage now, please, now is your chance to come and share some of your ideas. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to raise your hand. Okay. Uh-oh. Looks like people have disappeared. Maybe people have timed out. I apologize if their like free account just suddenly disappeared. But while I wait, yeah, there are a lot of interesting points here. Representation. Again, if you only select people who are high IQ, yeah, then it also means the voting population becomes very biased, right? So it means only the smart people are voting. Well, we say smart. The people who can do well on IQ tests. And then there's this kind of like, there's a sudden difference in equality, right? Imagine the amount of arguments and the amount of chaos and divide. There would be such, how do I say it, inequality when we start realizing that people are being judged based on their IQ. The number of people that would say, what was your IQ test? Can you vote? No? Yeah, because you're stupid. Like, there are some people who would definitely say that in this world. There are a lot of horrible people in this world. Yeah. So I think implementing this system would create such a huge divide between people, and that's something that we need to be very worried about. So there we go. But maybe on the plus side, when it comes to discussion and critical thinking, yeah, the people who do vote, hopefully if their IQ is high, they are better at critical thinking, and they might think more logically instead of voting based on emotion, personal preferences, or even randomness. I know a lot of people who vote because, they follow their family, or they just vote the same thing as their, relatives or friends. And many people will even change their vote to match their friends and family, because they think, oh, if I vote for Trump, or if I vote for Biden, or any controversial figure, people are going to stop liking me. People are going to start thinking I'm weird, because the reality is people do fight over politics, and people do, cut off or end relationships because of their political views. And it's a very scary thing. Where we are in a society where we cannot feel that we can be honest. I don't think that's good for anyone. But there we go. So, anyway. Ivsa says, I really want to go up on stage but have no free time left. Yeah, I can see. It would be great to have you on. So maybe next time, Ivsa, if you come early and we have this debate again, we'll quickly bring you on stage. Okay? Alright, I think we can move on to the next one. Let's have a look at the next topic. something that is a bit easier, yeah, not so in depth or not so complicated. Children these days are spoiled too much. Okay? Now, for those of you who don't know, spoil means to be very overprotective or to kind of give children too much. Yeah. So, for example, if you're from a rich family and you turn 18, you get your first driving license, your father buys you a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, right? You're just 18. Parents love to spoil their children, and I think everybody wants to spoil their children and give them nice things. I'm not going to say more because then I might give you some answers already. But spoiling means being overprotective or kind of doing too much for your child. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to give you 1 minute. Kitty agrees, he really spoiled so much. Does that mean you were spoiled by your parents? Or do you spoil your children? Which one is it? Right, let's give you 1 minute to quickly think about this. Again, using a pen and paper. Maybe think about points for and against. And maybe share, do you spoil your children? Were you spoiled as a child? And maybe what effect do you think it had on you? Okay, I wish I had some tense, exciting music like boom 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 boom. Kitty, thank you. There were some very nice comments. Thank you. Okay. Right, I think we got some ideas. I hope somebody comes on stage for this because I would love to hear a parent's opinion because I don't have children. I can tell you guys about how it feels to be spoiled because my mum did spoil me a little bit. I'm a good boy. Sorry. I know when I watch the recording of this later, this moment where I pretended to say I'm a good boy, I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna cringe so hard. I'm gonna go, oh, Eric, you're so lame, you're so stupid. It's like when you look back at yourself 10 years ago and you think, why did I say that? Why did I take this picture? Why did I pose like this? Oh, I'm so stupid. This is the feeling of embarrassment, what we call cringe. Very useful word. But anyway, so let's have a look at some extra ideas. Wrong button. And I see somebody has raised their hand. I'm very excited. Sure, interesting. I will take you in a moment. Please wait. I just want to give some people some more time to think about these things. Yeah. So we've got things like manners. Yeah. If you spoil your children, do their manners become better or worse? Spoiling. Toys. Giving them lots of toys. Is it bad? Are toys bad? Can they be useful? Distractions. Lack of responsibility. It's a different time. We're in the modern world. We're surrounded by technology. It's just different. Overprotection. Are we protecting our children too much? Less punishment. Is this a good thing? Maybe academic pressure. Yeah. This academic pressure might not be so clear, so let me share my interpretation. Children have a lot of academic pressure these days, so maybe spoiling them, giving them nice things, giving them a bit of extra money because they work so hard maybe that's not spoiling. Maybe we should reward our children, because they're working so hard, something like that. But then I don't know if that's spoiling. Let me check the definition again. As a teacher, I really don't want to give you a wrong answer, so spoil. Let's have a look. Nope, not that one. Nope. There we go. To treat someone very or too well, especially by being extremely generous. Yeah. When I'm feeling miserable, I go shopping and spoil myself. A couple of new dresses always make me feel better. Okay? Now, this is a nice phrase, to spoil yourself. We often also say to treat yourself. Yes, to give yourself something nice, right? Now, the difficult thing about the definition of spoil is that what is too well? The standard is quite subjective, right? So I think it really depends on the person, but let's have a look at some ideas. Okay, so I'm going to quickly, before I let Shaw on stage, oh no, he's disappeared. Dang it, I was too slow. It can't be helped. But Mora says too much will let them take that for granted and don't feel the value of it. That's very true, I agree. Maybe that turns them to be greedy and arrogant. Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, I completely agree with this. Was it Zakaria? I open this like every Saturday from like 8:30 p.m. Japan time. I apologize, Shaw. If you want to come on stage again, you can raise your hand. So, yeah, just to start with Mora's comment, I think taking things for granted, it's so difficult to raise children, right? Because from a psychological perspective, the home environment, especially for the first 3 years before they start going to kindergarten and primary school, they only have you as a role model. Everything you do, they will be watching. Well, not everything, but you are their role model. They will often copy you. They will learn things from you. And, if you do something bad, that could affect them, right? But this is just for the first few years. Actually, most of the learning we do happens at school, right? And this is not just, I'm not just talking about textbook learning, but especially for people in kindergarten, children first learn how to start socializing in kindergarten, right? And I believe, I might be wrong, but they did a study. Oh, I wish I had this, but I believe there was a study where they compared children who were homeschooled or didn't go to kindergarten versus children who did. And they compared their behavior in elementary school. And they found that children who didn't go to a kindergarten had a lot more problems socializing, making friends. They had a lot more arguments with other children and fights. And so school does play a big role when it comes to shaping their social behavior, right? How is this connected to spoiling children? Sorry, my mind has gone completely blank. What was it? Yes. We take a lot of things for granted, and even parents take for granted how much their behavior can affect their children, right? What if the business crises, what will they do? What will be their behavior? What do you mean by this? Kitty says, I agree. That is why I choose not to raise one. Interesting. Yeah. It's really difficult, isn't it? Going back to the question, children these days are spoiled too much. Overprotection is one big thing, right? We want to protect our children. We don't want them to get sick. We don't want them to experience sadness or negative events. But, for example, I don't want my child to get sick, so I'm not going to let them play outside. What kind of life is that for a child, right? And yes, they might have a bad day where they go outside, and their toy is taken by another rude kid at the park. And although I don't always like this phrase, but that's life, right? And often, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but the negative things that happen in life often shape us more than the positive events. Trauma can completely change someone, yeah? But at the same time, having a really good role model, maybe it's like a boss at work, somebody to guide you when you're not feeling sure, that can also be a game changer that can change your life, right? But unfortunately, in this world, especially if you look at the news, you might notice that there is a negative bias. There does tend to be more negative news, especially recently with the wars, COVID, and all of these things. And humans tend to focus more on the negative things because it helps us survive. In the Stone Age, we were still, cavemen hunting with spears and things like that. Paying attention, being scared, and watching these dangerous animals, even if it means we can't sleep, that's going to help us live longer than somebody who's just having a nice nap in the middle of the savannah while suddenly a lion comes, bam, he's gone. But he had a nice relaxing life. Yeah. So, and this is slightly off topic, but I do think it's important. When it comes to language learning, there are two main emotions that motivate us. One is the sense of achievement. It's that positive feeling you get when you've been studying for many years, yeah? And then you get the courage to go to this meetup event or any social event, and you meet some really nice people, and you have a really deep, a really nice conversation where you connect. And then after everything is finished, after you get home and relax, you think, wow, I am so glad, I could study English. I'm so glad I worked so hard to study this language because now I've made some friends. I've made some connections. I've had some experiences that I never would have had if I didn't study this language. That's the positive side. But on the flip side, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this, I think most people experience this more than the sense of achievement, but it's the sense of frustration, of not being good enough. And this isn't just with languages, but just life in general. But when it comes to languages, it's the feeling that, I studied so much stuff in my textbook, but I still couldn't remember these words, this vocabulary. I did a lot of listening practice, to prepare, but I still can't follow a native speaker. I still can't hear many things. I'm still shy and I make a lot of mistakes. That frustration can actually be a good thing. Now you might think, what the heck is he talking about? Is this guy okay? Like, how can frustration be a good thing? Well, as I said earlier, humans tend to focus more on negative things. Yeah? These actually tend to be stronger sources of motivation, right? How many times have you worked really hard on like a speech? Maybe you're doing public speaking. How many times have you practiced really hard, not because you want to impress everyone, but because you don't want to look like an idiot? You don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to, you know, do something stupid. I think most people probably felt this before, right? But the reason why it's good for languages is because it's a strong motivator. Being frustrated means that you care. Being frustrated means that it's important to you, right? The people who are like, it's okay, I make mistakes all the time, but whatever, I get my message across, like, that's fine. That might be okay. And also, being frustrated all the time is also not good. Let me make that clear. But the people who feel frustrated and use that as a way to improve, they always think, okay, it's annoying. I'm not going to make that mistake again. And they keep studying, they keep moving forward. Those are the people who I believe, in the end, become the most amazing, speakers, language learners, and things like that. But anyway, sorry, I went completely off topic. But yes, overprotecting your child. Yeah. Ifsa says, yes, overprotecting your children prevents them from learning many things. One can't be there for their children forever. That's right, you can't protect your children forever. They should be given exposure to things that will help them in life. Very true, yeah. Have you heard of the phrase tiger mom or helicopter mom? I don't know why it's always the mom. Maybe it's because during the first years, usually the mom has to stay at home to take care of the child while the husband goes to work. Maybe that's where it comes from. I wonder, in your country, or maybe from your experience, who tends to be the strict parent? Is it the mother or the father? I feel like in Asia, I want to say maybe it's the mother. And I have a lot of images in my head where I imagine the mother with the classic flip-flop, like a shoe, where sit down right now and eat your vegetables. No, don't make me. Don't make me do this, and then I get the slipper. I'm gonna. But it's very funny. I think it's a stereotype and exaggerated, but. So yeah, what were we talking about? Yes. Safia, Filipino moms, okay. And then Safia, I think mom because she really cares about us. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Usually, okay, maybe not usually, the people who choose to be strict, and nobody wants to be the boring, strict parent who says, sit down, eat your vegetables, it's good for you. Nobody wants to do that. Not the mother, not the father. No one. But we scold them. We tell them that it's not right. And we are strict. Because we know in the long run, if you continue this behavior, you are the one that's going to suffer, right? I don't want you to eat fast food because I know that in the future, if you continue this, you're going to die, right? From heart disease or something like that. Yeah. But children don't understand this. Children are not very good at thinking putting themselves in other people's shoes. And to be honest, a lot of adults don't realize it either. A lot of adults fail to realize or don't always appreciate the sacrifices that, their parents have made for them. And I also, I would say generally, I'm quite, I want to say I'm a good boy. I'm not. But like, I recently watched this Japanese drama that was about a housewife, right? And she was kind of like, it's a long story. I keep going off topic, so I'll try to keep it short. Um, but it was a kind of dilemma. The main character wanted to be a housewife, but in the modern age, there are less housewives in Japan nowadays, and it's becoming very outdated. Um, but like watching her live her life, making lunch for the children, taking them to school. If they get sick, you have to suddenly go to the school, bring them back. Um, and then, when the children, reading them books at nighttime, and then sometimes they go, I don't want to read, I want to play video games. And then you have to like scold them. All of this. Many people don't realize how difficult it is to be a housewife or be the one who is taking care of the child 24/7. And I really, after I finished watching that drama, I wanted to just call my mum and say like, thank you for always making me breakfast when you were dying, and things like that. Of course I didn't. I should. Maybe I'll call her tonight after this live stream. But yeah, all of us take many things for granted. Being strict, for example. I missed another person who put up their hand. Okay, right. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the answers. Ooh, Mora says, for us, it is the dad that is the strict parent. What country do you come from, Mora? I apologize. Egypt? No. SBNM says, Mom is always the house's bad police. Ah, I know what you mean. We'd say good cop, bad cop. Now, cop is an American word for police officer, right? Good cop, bad cop is a phrase to show that, like, it's usually for interrogations. When you have a criminal or maybe a suspect and you want them to tell you the truth, they sometimes get two interrogators or two people. Somebody who's like super kind, like, hey, you're looking a bit, would you like a glass of water, and things like that, to make them feel more relaxed. And then you have bad cop, the strict person, saying like, tell me what you did last night, where were you, who were you with, I know you did it. And they're like spitting in your face and like trying to like scare them into confessing, right? So there are different ways to persuade people. This is what I think they were trying to say by bad police. Good cop, bad cop. Okay? It's a nice phrase to use. I think if I were a parent, everybody wants to be good cop, right? No one wants to be bad cop. What is your take in gentle parenting? I think I've heard of this term, but I'm not 100% sure what gentle parenting is. So I will have to come back to that. But I see Mora has raised her hand. So I'm going to quickly take her on stage before she disappears. So let's have a look. Mora, welcome on stage. Everybody, please. Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
can
Mora. Nice to meet
I just
you.
turn off my camera if you don't mind?
That's okay. Yeah, don't worry. Actually, I think I can turn it off for you. 1 second.
Oh, thank you.
Ah, there we go.
That would be
Okay.
more
How are you
comfortable.
doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I love
Good.
your debate actually.
No, thank you. I'm just curious. Is it your first time watching the stream?
Yes, it is,
There you
and it won't be the last time.
go. That's very sweet. I'm very touched. And could you just quickly tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, which country are you from?
I'm from Egypt, and I am
Egypt.
a mom
Very
of
good.
two sweet daughters.
Oh, that's
Uh,
nice.
I am blessed. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Uh, Talking about the, this kind of valuable
Yes.
debate, like it's
Okay.
controversial actually, because you know everyone has his own perspective.
True. Very true.
So before I had my kids, I
Mm, mm,
said,
mm.
okay, I will be the best mom for them. And until now, I wanted to be the best mom,
Of
the best
course.
version of myself for them.
Everybody does.
And this is, I believe, all parents seek that so
Mm,
badly.
definitely.
But sometimes, out of your like you want it so badly, you feel like you fall through things that you don't want to do.
Mm, mm,
For example, I want to raise them like perfectly. I want them to be everything, anything I haven't take a chance in my life to take it. I want to give it to them.
mm,
So I thought, let me raise them. My first daughter,
mm.
I was like raising her perfectly, and she was like listening. You know, the first child,
Yeah.
all the time listening, and yeah. But after the second child,
Yeah.
you will find like, oh my God, this version is totally different than the first one.
They're like, even though you follow the plan, it's like things just go out the window.
Exactly.
They don't go as expected. That's right.
Yes, and then the you figure out like your rules can't fit for both because everyone is different and
True.
special.
True.
If you want to make rules, you need to make it special for each character.
That's a very good
I
point.
believe it's unfair if you do one rule for all.
Mm, very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so after I raised my first child,
Mm,
now I feel like she's telling me, Mommy, you know, you raised me so perfectly. Like, I can't accept, you know, it's so rigid. I wanted flexibility. Actually, now I regret, not regret, I tried my
mm.
best that time. But now my mind's starting to be flexible more.
Oh, okay. Sorry, just to confirm, you said that your first child, you raised her well, or she said that you raised her well, but she is too rigid? Is that what you said?
I raised her to commit to the rules, like to stick to the rules.
Ah,
There
I
could be
see. So she
no,
always goes by the
yes,
book.
exactly.
Oh,
So
and you
and
want
then,
her to be more flexible. Sorry.
but I raised her that way. You know, it's my mistake. But I didn't know that will happen. I thought like, you know, the way my mom she raised us. No, you need to be gentle and kind for everyone, and you need to listen too, so you can be a good kid. You
Hmm.
know, at that time, we raised to be like, no, if you are not listening, so that means you are not good kid. You need to listen, even if you don't want to. Yeah.
Definitely.
So with my daughter. Now she is so rigid,
Hmm.
and mommy, when she now I'm changing my mind with my second daughter. I
Hmm.
don't want to fall in the same mistake twice. But it's unfair for my first daughter. She's looking at me like, no, you didn't do that to me. Like
Ah, that's
you were,
tough.
you know.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, I don't have any ego to tell her, no, this is I am right all the time. No, I also apologized to her. I told
Hmm.
her, you know, I'm also human. I did my best, but I am learning. So
Definitely.
accept that. When she found out that I'm trying my best, so she appreciates that I am trying. And all like we are still human, not angels.
Hmm. 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 Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm trying now to switch from perfectionist because my first daughter she is perfectionist now. She can't see anything not like falling to the rule, and she won't be calm. She will be like, no, I can't accept that. It should be by the book, as you said.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, one thing I would be interested, like, to ask your daughter if I were in your shoes. Oh, first of all, for context, how old are your children?
My first daughter, she's
Mm.
13,
13.
teenager
Okay.
technically, her
Yeah.
first year of teenager. Yeah. And the second one, she's 7.
7. Okay, so they're both old
Yeah.
enough to have somewhat, what was it, especially the 13-year-old. I think she's, got enough to kind of express her opinions and, have a dialogue with you. So, one thing I would
So,
ask her is, does following the rules, like, first of all, why does she follow the rules? And maybe, like, does maybe following the rules make her feel more comfortable? Or like maybe she's following the rules because again you have your home environment where you can do everything perfectly, but if all of her friends are very different and she feels this kind of pressure to conform and change, because that does happen, right? Imagine when you were a teenager, I'm sure that you felt maybe a bit of pressure to be the same as everyone else. You don't want to stand out, so
So
maybe
true.
it's something related to school or how they do things at school.
Actually, I was talking with her about that like
Okay.
2 days back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and I told her, Perry, I feel like you are changing. It
Mm,
change. It's very good thing,
yeah.
to change, and this is normal growth. But I want you to change up to your
Mm,
version, not to change up to, because there is something really, really severe called peer pressure.
yeah,
So
that's a
she's
problem.
falling through that. She's
Mm,
falling through that, and she's telling me, Mom, I feel not. I am not. I'm left out if I'm not follow them, my
mm,
friends. So they will not feel. I will not feel that I am welcomed if I am not doing the same.
very good point.
So her mind started to be like, okay, let me do this kind of. I want to be like adults. So whatever it takes, I will do as long as I will be welcomed, and I will get along. I don't want to stand for myself or something like that. She has this kind of funny and silly character. She's so sweet, but she changed only because of her friends, because they are telling her all the time, "Oh, this is cringe," and this is, Gen
I
Z expressions,
Gen Z. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and yesterday she was crying and she told me, Mommy, they told me goofy. I'm goofy. I told her, what does it mean, goofy? This is something new for me.
Just
She said, she
yeah.
said, yeah. She was explaining to me. I told her, you are so valuable.
Mm,
Don't put yourself. She told me because I don't have anyone, so I need to accept that.
mm,
I told her, no. You need to search for your value in yourself and how you fit
mm,
in other places you feel comfortable with.
mm,
Because she's trying to be not herself. She's trying to mask so she can fit in.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's hard
is
actually.
it is. Yeah. And I think although it's not ideal, it's human nature to, what was it, pick the outliers, or rather, notice who is different. And naturally, as humans, we are more cautious of things that are different. Yeah, and this is partly, related to racism and all that stuff. Um, but even in the adult world, especially when it comes to business as well, it's natural, like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. We conform all the time, often unconsciously. And we have our kind of like, what was it? Outward appearance, like, our polite side where, we try to be as kind as possible. But, when you
Exactly.
really get to know us, we get a bit more relaxed. Sometimes I swear, I say bad words and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that maybe having this kind of outward persona and then only showing your real self to the people you really trust, maybe that might be necessary in today's society?
Actually, I don't know what
Mm,
can I tell her. Like my advice to her, like I told her, I don't want you to be changed. I
mm,
want you to whatever you feel comfortable
mm,
doing. That's
mm,
okay. But it's so much pressure in this age to handle, So I believe I'm telling her something she can't do it. It's so perfect or so, it's not practical enough for her.
Yeah. One thing I will say, I don't think the things you do always represent who you are, right? So like if she's, how do I say it, pretending to have the same interests, she's kind of like just, you know, um doing things or saying the same things as everyone else to fit in,
Hmm.
that doesn't necessarily mean that she believes in all of those things or that's who she is. Actions are actions, and I don't think, what was it? They're always connected to the what people are, right? Because humans are very good at pretending, right?
Exactly.
So I would say that again, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing my 2 cents here. But what you're doing, the fact that your daughter is already open with you and that she's well, not happy, but she's open to cry in front of you, she's not hiding anything, you have this open dialogue, that to me, just hearing that tells me that you're already an amazing parent who she feels very comfortable with, because not every child can do that with their parents, especially in stricter households. So yes, it's unfortunate that she's having to feel this peer pressure at school, but I feel like that's something that is a normal part of life. Of course, if it steps into bullying, that's when we might have to do something. Um, but it's almost changing how you behave depending on the situation, even if it's not the real you, can help make business, meeting new people a bit easier than just always being yourself. Does that make sense?
So true. That's, yeah, I couldn't agree more actually,
Yeah.
because it's like it should be balanced. If you do that for so long, you will feel like, oh, I can't bear it anymore. Like, no
Exactly.
way. It's too much. And if I'm rigid to myself and then don't want to accept others at the same time, that's not good.
Yeah.
I need to be flexible and do balance between both, actually.
Yeah.
But doing like trying to balance between two things, it's only fine line, and it's so hard, and it needs like trials and errors, lots of things, so you can figure out. Before I have my children, I was reading books, parenting books, and trying my best, researches, and I said, no, I've got this.
Definitely.
After I had my first child, I said, no way, this is totally different.
Yeah.
The experience, it doesn't belong to what I was reading. It's,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, it would be really nice if there were this like perfect guidebook on parenting, right? You know,
exactly.
but this is the problem with just like knowledge and wisdom, as we talked about earlier. You can learn the textbook stuff and you can use that to deal with real life situations, but things never go exactly as in the textbook, and you just have to kind of, adapt, be flexible, as you said, and you can't apply those rules from your first child to your second child. So yeah,
Exactly.
just always updating your, database and kind of trying to do the best you can at that moment.
Yes, that's for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, thank you so much for sharing that story. That was really interesting. And although, I'm, what was it, a bit sad to hear that your child is experiencing peer pressure, I do think that's kind of unfortunately, a natural part of life. But I guess the important
Yes.
thing is to know when to not conform, when to put your foot down and say, hey, this is me, this is what I believe, and, I'm okay with being different from you. I think at some point she'll have to learn how to be brave and do that.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm telling her we are together. Like we are, like when she said that she was crying, I cried with her.
Yeah.
I told her I feel what you feel. Like sometimes we raised up to be the ignoring our emotions, like,
Mm,
no, you don't feel that way, it's only wrong, it's only in your mind. And this is something really bad, you know,
mm,
to ignore your feelings. This is
mm,
something, it's not helping at all.
mm,
Or to compare yourself to others, like, you know, in my age I used to do blah blah blah. No, this is different, different.
mm.
It shouldn't be that way. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And that's a really good point. Comparing yourself to others, and I think it often happens sometimes because of parents, uh, this girl was okay. Why can't you be it? That's terrible to do as a parent. But also education. We're always being compared based on our test scores, and like we're put in a similar situation, and we assume that every student is similar or the same because they're in the same place doing the same things, but that's just not true.
Yes.
So
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
no, thank
I
you, and
appreciate.
it was a pleasure. Yeah, sorry.
I enjoyed it that it's
Oh
here, like
no,
expressing. I
thank
was
you.
like nervous to join,
Yeah,
but I said I will give it a try, whatever.
there
I
we
will
go.
try my best.
I think your daughters have a great role model to look up to. And yeah, I mean, I would say it's very scary to come on this live stream, but to be honest, like when the only people talking right now are me and you, and if you're just looking at me like, just forget about the other people. Like it's fine. Though of course I'm very thankful they are here, but sometimes it's better just to like don't think too deeply and just like yeah, go for it, which you did.
Yeah.
So really well done. Okay.
I felt it safe space here, so
Oh, I'm
yeah,
glad
I
to hear
enjoyed it.
that.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
But thank you for coming
Take
on
care.
stage, sharing your story. Yeah, please take care. Okay. Thank you,
Same to you.
Mona.
See you. Bye bye.
There we go. Sorry, it was Mora, not Mona. Wow, what a wonderful, story. And I think this is why it's really nice to have you guys come on stage because share your things that I could never talk about myself. So thank you very much, Tamora. Right, I see that Rima wants to come on stage. Can I quickly read the comments? Because it looks like there are 23 new comments since. So I'm going to do my best to go through this quickly. So, what was it? Gentle parenting, and then until they become parents, they understand. That's true. My mom, Safia, do your homework. Don't stay up too late at night. Yeah, we get that a lot, don't we? I will tell you, when I was younger, I was very bad. I played a lot of video games, so when my mum I would always play like my Nintendo DS under the covers. I was that kind of child. Anyway, so um, what was it? But I mean, hey everyone, lots of people follow, answered your question, want to go for it too. There we go. Okay, so Rima, let's have you on stage. Okay. Hi Rima, can you hear me? I will turn your camera off for you. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
great.
I don't have my hijab on, so
No, no, that's okay. How are you doing?
I'm good. What about you?
Good. I'm very
Eric,
good.
right?
I'll be honest, my throat is a bit dry. But luckily, you're saving me
Drink
right
some
now
water.
because yeah, I've drunk like 2 liters today. Like I need to go to the toilet. No, I'm joking. I'm okay. But anyway,
Of course, like you
so
need to go with only 1 liter.
that's right. That's right. But could you tell me a bit about yourself? Like what country you're from, and do you have children or
I'm
anything like
from
that?
Libya. Do you know Libya?
Sorry, say that again.
Libya,
Libya, I've heard of
right
it, but I
next
know
to Egypt.
nothing about it. Wow.
It's right next to Egypt,
There you go, your neighbours with
Africa.
Mora.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Africa.
Ah, okay, right. I need to Google this later because I feel like I should know this. But okay, and then do you have any children?
No,
Nope,
thankfully,
that's okay.
but
Thankfully.
I do have many nephews and nieces, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay, so that's an interesting viewpoint. So yeah, what's your take on this situation? Like, do people
Like
spoil their
I've
children?
yeah, I've been an aunt since before I was born.
Mm, mm, mm. Wait,
Yeah, I have 33 nephews and nieces and still counting.
Sorry, say that again. How many?
33 nephews and nieces.
33. Wait, okay. So nephew is like a sister's or brother's daughter.
N-
So wait,
Sister or brother's son, nephew.
your English
And
is
niece
better
is
than mine. I'm going nuts. Sorry. Yes.
You're British,
Wait,
come
so-
on.
I am British. Sometimes I don't feel British. I don't like football. I don't like going to the pub. Anyway, so what was it?
I
How
don't
many
like
siblings
these
do you
two
have?
either. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. Are you okay now?
Like, I kind of understand because I have like, my mother has 4 sisters and 3 brothers, so I have a lot of cousins. So I can
I
kind
see.
of imagine, but yeah,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing.
But
Were you
cousins is
all
not
raised
like,
in the same house?
yeah, of course.
How
So
big is
same
your
mother, same
house?
father. It's huge, to be honest.
Wow, okay. Wait, I guess if you have a large family, you must need, of course, a lot of money. So, like, is your family rich? I don't know if that's a rude question. I
No,
apologize.
no, we'll just middle class. Well, you see,
Okay.
like we have a lot of land. My
Oh,
my country is a huge country, but very little people. Like we're about
I
7
see.
million for 7,000 line like coastline.
Okay.
7,000 kilos of coastline.
Oh, wow, very like concentrated, very dense in that area.
It's a big country. If you like Google it, you'll find like a huge space, but a lot of desert, to be honest.
Okay, right. Ah, I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of the land mass. So, okay. And then,
Yeah.
what's
So
your experience as a, what was it, as an auntie, you know?
yeah,
Do you ever spoil your nephews, you know, give them extra
of
gifts and like,
course,
yeah, of course, you want
of
to do
course.
that, right?
Like, but like some like I have 2 nieces. They're
Hmm.
all even older than me.
Oh, okay, right. Wait.
Yeah. So wait, my sister was more married before I was born. That's how I explain.
Oh, I see. I was gonna say, like, how
Oh,
is your nephew older? Okay, that's
that's
crazy to me. What the
like
heck?
the mom and the daughter. They're pregnant at the same time.
Oh, okay, right. I see. It is too late for me
Okay.
to be hearing about your situation is like blowing my mind right now. Okay, right. Carry
Yeah,
on.
and
Sorry.
like I'm the youngest sister. That's why like they're
Ah, I
all my
see.
brothers and sisters are already married.
What is the age gap between the youngest and the oldest sibling?
Um, like wait a second, 21.
Okay, that's not too crazy, but yeah, it's still quite a big gap. Hmm.
Yeah, my sister was 21 when I was born.
That's crazy. Yeah, I can't
Yes.
imagine that. But okay, right. And then,
And you don't need to, okay?
yeah, yeah. So, what was it? Going back to spoiling children, you said that you do spoil your nephews. By the way, how do you have the money to spoil how many nephews?
33, but I don't have to spoil them all
No, of
because
course.
a lot of them are already old. Like I told you, like
Ah,
2
I
nieces
see.
are as older, like older than me, 2 nieces.
Right, that makes sense.
They're,
Okay.
yeah. So
Hmm.
like a lot of them my age, like we have like all ages, like
Right.
mashallah, old people
Okay.
like my age and like middle, like still in college, some
Right.
in high school, some in middle school, some like even a little baby. She's 6 months old.
Okay. Right.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and like the one who lives right next to me, like
Okay.
she's my niece.
Hmm.
My brother lives right next to our home, so I
Oh,
spoil
nice.
her a lot. Yeah,
Of course, because you live close together.
yeah, she is 3 years old, and
Okay.
her little baby is 6 months old. Like I
Oh.
always like carry them, give them sweets, and of
Oh.
course I have my own job, so I
Yes.
have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I have the money.
Of course.
So
Hmm.
I spoil them. Like even when they visit, I cook for. They like my pizza. I make a lot of pizza. They love it.
I want to eat your pizza.
Yeah, my pizza is very good. I made just
What kind of
yesterday
pizza
for
is
my
it?
nephews. Any kind.
Like, what is your go-to like your favorite pizza to make?
Like the veggie kind,
Ooh, veggie kind. Okay,
like
okay.
onions, tomatoes, like olives, peppers, like all the veggies you put, and
Oh, I'm
a
so
lot of
hungry.
pizza, a lot of cheese, of course. That's pizza.
Okay, let's stop talking about food. I'm so hungry. Right,
I'm
I
sorry.
see. No,
I
no,
could I
it's
should have
okay.
I should have told you yes last night,
No,
so I would send
yeah,
you reply.
there we go. Send me a
Yeah,
picture of your
but
pizza sometime.
unfortunately, it's already finished. Like they
Oh,
ate it all.
I'm so sad. But there you go. If I ever come to Libya, I'll message you. I'll be like, "Can I have your famous pizza?" Like,
Yes, of course. You're welcome anytime.
that would be awesome. But yeah, so
Also, we have a big home, so you don't have to rent a
wow,
hotel. We can give you a
that's
room.
so kind. Oh my gosh.
Us Libyans, we're very generous to our
I
guests.
wouldn't be surprised. Yet you sound very generous. Like, yeah. But what was it? So you spoil your children. Like, as the auntie, do you ever
Hmm.
feel like, for example, what was it? How do I say it? Do you feel like maybe
Like,
you're overstepping boundary? Because of course, as we said, spoiling too much can be a bad thing if you do
yeah,
it too
of
much. So
course,
like,
of course.
do you ever feel like how do
I
you
try my best.
Mhm.
Like, I try my best not to.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I try my best. Like sometimes I did just a little bit, but
That's
for
okay.
example, I have my brother's family. Their mom. They're on like only the oldest. She's in the third grade.
Mm-mm.
She doesn't like to give them the phone or in the house. Okay.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So I don't do that. I
No,
I would choose more to play with them outside, like play football with them,
that's good.
and like and do activities outside doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Like we
see.
have a huge garden. We have chicken. Like our eggs is homegrown.
Wait, when you say you have chickens, you mean like in your garden?
Yeah, in the back farm. It's not a huge farm, but
Okay,
there is.
that's it reminds me that's quite nostalgic because my father's from Malaysia, and when I went to his like hometown, like quite a similar situation, big family, they also had chickens
Um,
in the garden, and I remember my father like almost breaking his back trying to pick up the chicken. It was hilarious. Anyway, sorry. But
yeah,
chickens,
we
wow.
don't pick up the chicken. They just lay eggs for us.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It's very fresh.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's very fresh and it's more nutritious than the one that bought, right?
Right, I see.
So
Interesting.
anyway, as
Mm,
the children, I also try to teach them,
mm,
okay? Like give them like when they need to like lessons. I'm a teacher actually,
mm. Oh,
so they have a free tutor.
very nice. Mm,
Yeah,
I see.
and like yeah, I would try to help them in everything and not to step on boundaries.
Mm, yeah, but it's quite
Yeah, and
difficult,
also
right?
that's pressure me a bit to
Mm-hmm.
be a role model. So
Ah,
I try to be a good one.
yeah, very good. You've
Yeah,
got a lot of people looking up to you with all those nephews. But again, I guess more for the younger ones.
yeah, more of the younger ones, and
Mm.
of course I need to be the one they like. So
Are you trying to be the favorite auntie?
well, I am naturally so.
Wow, you're so confident. Not even any hesitation. You're just like, I am. So
Yeah, naturally, it's natural. Like
natural, really.
everyone likes their youngest aunt. I mean,
I see. I see. Interesting. Would you say that
and
you're
come on,
like? Sorry.
give me your best. What do you think? Like,
Okay.
aren't I like a lovely person?
Well,
Duh. See, that laugh says yes.
I would love to say yes, but I've only known you for like 10 minutes, maybe. So
Yeah, and
it's
that's enough to judge.
really.
But I am awesome. Yeah, I
I mean,
am.
I studied human psychology, but I'm not sure if I can confidently say I know what kind of person you are.
Yeah, I'm the good kind, really.
Okay, I see. I'll take your word for it then.
Okay, that's good.
No.
So how old are you, by the way? What do you do?
How old do you think I am? Don't worry, I won't be offended.
Because you said you study already, so
Hmm.
I think 23.
Wait, did I say I studied?
Yeah, like human psychology, blah blah.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah, past it. Right, okay. So no, I'm not. I graduated from university 7 years ago. That's a big hint.
No way.
Hmm.
You're 29,
Close.
30?
Yeah, I'm not old,
No,
but like
come on.
sometimes I feel. The other day, I was like taking
No,
rubbish out,
look,
and I was walking down the stairs, and I like clicked my knee, and I was like, oh, I felt so old.
yeah,
Like
you hit the three. You hit the three number.
the
So
3-0, right? That's the big muscle. Oh
yeah,
my
you
gosh.
hit it.
Yeah.
But like, you look 19 to be honest.
I don't know if it's look. I mean, maybe looks, but it's also because I'm also a teacher, as you know. So like, especially when you're dealing with young children, you have to be very energetic, and I would say I'm quite good at
Yeah,
doing that. So I often
I'm a
bring that
teacher.
energy to my lesson, like adult lessons even as well. So I think I
Yes.
look young, like in terms of my
So
behavior.
because you don't have a beard, that's why you look
I
young.
shaved earlier today because I had a bit of a like.
Yeah.
I can grow like hair here, but I can't grow hair anywhere else, so it
Mhm.
just looks weird. I don't want to be like some Asian cowboy.
That would make you look even older, like just a mustache.
I
Come
mean, I
on,
guess
that's way
so, but
70s.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to look older. I mean, I don't really care too much, but hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Like my 20-year-old nephew, he's
Yes.
trying to grow a beard, so he would look
Ah,
old.
true. Hmm. I
Yeah,
think
he wants to look old.
in Libya, do people tend to have more facial hair, like for men?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for men, like all Islamic countries
Oh, okay.
do have facial, like they would rather have
Oh,
facial hair.
I
It's
see.
like, yeah, it's like an Islamic thing, you know. It's
Oh, is it?
good for men to have a beard
Oh, why is that?
because it's like, you know, we have our prophet
Okay, yep. Allah.
Muhammad.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Muhammad,
it's
sorry.
like looking up to him because Muhammad, our prophet, it's sunnah to have a beard like him, you know. He had a
Ah,
beard.
I see. Right.
Yeah, that's why they like it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. So maybe like as a sign of respect, or like in kind of as a symbol of
Yes, as a respect and as a role model, you know.
makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can shave it and it's okay, but it would look better if you have.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Oh,
Yeah, that's the reason.
interesting. But
Now you understand why
yeah,
most Arabs have beard.
there you go. I learned something new today, and I'm definitely gonna search
Yeah.
Libya
See,
on the Google
I'm a
Maps.
teacher.
There you
See,
go.
that's why I'm a teacher.
Perfect, perfect. I can see
Can you
why
guess
you're the
what
fun
kind
one.
of a teacher I am?
Say that again.
Can you guess what kind of a teacher I am?
I'm gonna guess.
Like everybody gets it right for this.
Science.
Of course not. How
Damn
could
it.
you make that wrong?
What? Let me try again.
Like,
Um,
seriously, all people I asked in this app, they answer correctly.
wait. Are you saying I'm old? No, I'm joking.
No, no, I just say no. It's not Islamic.
It's not Islamic. It's
Do you
PE.
give up? No,
I have no idea.
English. Duh. That's so obvious.
I'm gonna end my live stream now. That is very obvious. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of English.
Why? Like,
I'm
mean, come on,
stupid.
it's someone
My IQ is
from
pretty low,
Arabic.
so
It doesn't seem to, but like, come on, like someone from an Arabic country with a very good accent.
that's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
like, it's very clear.
I
So
mean, to
next
be fair,
time,
not all English teachers are actually, what is it, very
yeah, yeah.
good at English, right? Some people are just good at
But
like
I
teaching
am
the
like,
grammar. Mm, but, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Anyway,
But
I'm
you,
gonna. Sorry.
I just want to compliment you, so you wouldn't feel
Oh.
bad for yourself that you answered wrong. Your
Give-
British accent is very good. I like British
Oh
accent.
no, thank you very much. I get that a lot. I wish it were something that I had control, because I don't know if I
Yeah,
was
it's a
born
natural
with
thing.
this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, right. It's not like I worked hard to get this like this voice, but I actually not a
yeah.
fan of my own voice, but that's another thing. But anyway, mm. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna have to end the
Hmm.
live stream soon, so I'm gonna have to, say goodbye for you to you for now. But thank you so much. It was so fun to talk to you.
Of course, yeah. And you're not bad as well. You're very good too.
Oh, I love that. I love the, what was it, British sarcasm. British people are quite known for their sarcasm, but I love it when other countries, when other people use it as well. That's awesome.
Oh
But
yes, we can speak British accent. Is
we
that a
can
very good
speak
British
British.
accent to know?
That's
Yes,
actually
British.
pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
Well, I did study. I did have to study it. Like the British accent, the American one.
I did notice earlier you said football, and to me,
Yeah,
where I teach Japanese people and most of them say soccer, when I hear somebody say football, I feel like a part of my heart is like restored.
is broke. Yeah, I
Because,
understand.
yeah, anyway.
I don't like the word soccer.
Yeah, well, I don't mind. English is English, but yeah, what was it? I am happy when people use British English, so thank you very much.
Yes, I would say football all the time. Don't worry.
Football all the time. You're very British. Well,
Yes,
thank you
you're
very much,
welcome.
Rima, and I hope to speak to you again sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Okay?
So I just followed you so I
Oh,
can speak to you again. Yeah.
thank you.
Really nice
Yes.
talking to you.
Yeah,
Have a
that
nice
was so
day. And I'm
nice.
29.
Oh, we're almost the same age. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But you graduated like 7 years ago? I graduated 7 years ago.
yeah, I was 1 year late because I had to transfer schools and I couldn't carry my test results. It was a
Oh.
weird situation, but yeah.
But I went to school earlier. You know the reason?
Oh, because you're a genius?
No, because like I'm the youngest child and my older brother is like 2 years difference. Like,
Right.
okay, he's 2 years older. So
Okay.
I was always playing with them. But then he had to go to school. And I was a crybaby for a full year every time they go to school. So
Oh,
like
so he
my
went to
parents
school
have to
earlier.
like shoot me to school next year.
Right, I see. Oh, that's very interesting. Oh, well, I'm sure you're
Yeah,
not a
that's a good
crybaby now.
reason.
There
I
you go.
was, yeah,
You
I
you can
was.
just tell people, I'm extra smart, so they moved me forward 1 year.
But I am, yeah.
Very good.
But I don't like to lie to people. I would tell them the real reason.
Yeah, that's very true. You're a very honest person. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much, Rima, and I'll speak to you again soon,
Thank
okay?
you.
Thank
Inshallah,
you.
hopefully. Have a nice day. Take
You
care.
too. Bye-bye. There we go.
Salaam alaikum.
Oh, what was that? I heard a foreign phrase that I've never heard of before. But anyway, sorry. Oh, Rima, what a wonderful speaker. I think everybody who's come on stage today has been absolutely wonderful. I really do have to apologize because it's 11 p.m. here in Japan. We still have 2 questions to do, but I don't think we'll have time for it today. However, I'm going to quickly show the final question, and then I'm going to let you guys give a few comments. I won't take people on stage because I know once I start talking to somebody, I'm going to go until midnight, 1 a.m. So for now, let me just quickly read the comments and then we'll look at the final question. Okay? So, a good thing to hear. Oh, nice to see you, Yuka. I know that was a long time ago. What do you think about capitalism? Oof. I don't think I can answer that just because I'm not familiar with politics and capitalism. Yeah. Asians very young and don't look old. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Especially like men and women. We look like young until a certain age. It's like young, 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 young. Bam! I look like Confucius with this like super long like white mustache. Like, oh my gosh. More same here, my knees. I know, right? Like I feel like I need to do some like I don't know, like squats or something. Like whoo. Anyway, um, squats are actually very good for your joints and often like at first if you ever go to the gym and do weights, shoulders and knees are often very painful for many people, but actually so you think, oh, it's painful, I shouldn't put weight on these like damaged parts, but actually according to what I've seen, heard and experienced, when I started working at, sorry, I'll make this short, um, often your joints, the parts that connect the bones, they hurt when you lift weights because they are weak, the kind of muscles that connect the joints together. So don't go crazy, start with very light weights, but actually if you get pain in your knees or shoulders, actually it's good to do a bit of light weight training, and that can often solve your muscle pains, or sorry, joint pains. But anyway, is it a mustache that's not a beard? Mustache, beard. Okay, yeah, mustache, beard. Yeah. Eric, can you tell me more about your studies in psychology? Where do I start? So I actually did a live stream about psychology. You can find this on my YouTube channel in the live section, I think. But it's not something I can tell you about right now because this live stream would continue for hours. But psychology is something that's absolutely fascinating to me. I absolutely love it. And although it can be a bit depressing, quite dark sometimes to learn about human nature, I think knowing that humans can be very bad can help us change people who go down the wrong path. And actually, I found that after realizing, or rather not realizing, learning how people behave and why they behave like that, especially in criminal psychology, and thinking about, people do bad things, but that doesn't mean they're a bad person. This is one of my favorite kind of like ideas that I've learned. And I said this earlier, when I was talking to, I think it was Mora, when she said that, like, sometimes as a parent you make mistakes. And you can do something that has a bad effect on someone, but you might have good intentions, right? You can be very strict with your child, and you might even make them cry because you're being very strict. But you're being strict because you want what's good for them, right? But on any day, we're human. We feel stressed. Sometimes we might shout at someone even though they did nothing wrong. We do bad things, we do good things. But that doesn't mean we're a good or bad person. It can change. So that can be a positive or a negative message depending on how you look at it. But yeah, the best we can do is just, live life to our values, because of course not everybody is interested in saving the world, saving the environment, making the world a better place. Some people just want to enjoy life, just want to be happy, and that's fine. There you go. All right, so what was it? But psychology is fascinating. Maybe I'll do another lecture on it. Actually, I'm planning another lecture, but I've been very busy with moving to Japan and podcasts, so you might have to wait a bit for the next part 2 of psychology. Mora, if you want to find my YouTube channel, you can find the pinned comment in the chat. I think it's at the top, right? So you can find it if you tap the link there. Okay? You're very welcome. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Rima. You already answered it. Um, exactly. All people make mistakes. It's okay as long as you learn and try to be better. Definitely. Okay. But there you go. You love so many nice people. I'm so moved. Okay, but anyway, sorry, off topic again. Let's go to the final question for today. All right. So we only talked about one or two things and then we went off topic, but we got some really valuable advice from some real parents, from real aunties. So great stuff. All right, so we're gonna skip this one. Teenagers should be punished in the same way as adults. Yeah. We talked about, well, we were going to talk about society's responsibility, brain development, family situations. Some people think, oh, they're old enough to know, and so on. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have time. So the final debate for today. Debates should focus on finding the truth, not being polite. Now, because today's, session was about debating, I thought that maybe one question about debating would be interesting. And a big problem, we talked about this earlier a little bit, but debating is a skill with something that's very logical, rational, and we use a lot of data and statistics to persuade our opponent, right? And it's often seen as a competition, right? That's why I said opponent and not other person. But often we have to put our foot down. We have to not worry so much about the other person's feelings and be very straightforward. I know what you're saying, but that is just not true. Yeah? And then when they start saying, false information, you might say, wait. That's actually not true because blah, blah. And it's like, but that doesn't make sense. If you do this, you do that, right? You're not exactly correct here. Sometimes you gotta just not completely forget, but you need to prioritize the truth. That's one way of looking at it, and that's part of what I think. But let's have a look at some other ideas. A few comments. Somebody says, your mannerisms are so British. I mean, you are British, but man, it's like watching a British movie. Good speech, by the way. Can someone tell me what a British gesture or a British mannerism is? Because the way I look at myself is probably very different to how you guys look at me. So Jay, can you tell me, what am I doing that is so British? I'm very curious. But anyway, Mora, you can't get the link. In that case, send me a message on Hello Talk, and then I'll send it to you directly later. Okay? I'm here. The British love to say please and sorry. Yeah, we do say that, and cheers as well. Could I please... when I go to the store, could I please have an Americano coffee, please? Thank you. And then I guess we do say please and sorry quite a lot. Anyway. Okay. So, what do you guys think? Debates should focus on finding the truth, not being polite. Yeah. So, should we forget about the other person's feelings? Should we try to counter every point? And any time they say something incorrect or false, should we just tell them, no, that's not right? And if we do debate in this way, or if we discuss controversial issues in this way, what kind of effect do you think this will have on the other person? Because not all conversations start as debates. Sometimes conversations become debates, in the middle, right? When we suddenly start talking about something important. That would do. Thanks again. Perfect. Thank you, Rima. So, first of all, let's have a look at some of these. Now, looking at the meaning of debate. The meaning of debate is to have a logical, rational discussion that should be unbiased. Of course, it's impossible to be 100% unbiased, as we discussed with Catalina. We need to find the truth. There's no point in trying to discuss a topic if we're not trying to find what's right or what's true. Okay? Some people debate to persuade the other person, to win the battle, right? To prove that they know more than the other person. But that is a big problem, and we discussed this with ego and pride earlier, so I'm not going to repeat it. But the whole meaning of debate is to find the truth. So this might be one thing to say that, yes, we should focus on finding the truth. Otherwise, there's no meaning. Now, to counter that point, listening equals learning. I think debates often... Have you ever had an argument with someone where you're both getting very emotional, and sometimes it feels like the other person isn't listening to what you're saying, but they're listening to find a gap. When you stop talking, bam, they go in. Yeah? And I think one of the worst things that I dislike is you can understand, or when somebody is not really listening to you if their comment or their next sentence doesn't relate to what you're saying. So for example, if I say like, oh, debates should always be about finding the truth, we should never be polite, we don't need to protect other people, we need to find the truth. And then the other person says, but in my experience, and then they talk about something completely different. But is one of the worst words. It's one of the most negative words that we use. A much better way of, how do I say it, moving the discussion along is repeating what the other person said, right? So you might say like, okay, so you're saying that we need to think about the truth, and maybe we try to protect other people's feelings too much. Is that right? And they might say, yes, exactly. Yes, you might understand perfectly already. But just by showing the other person, hey, I'm listening to what you're saying, I actually understand, they already feel more relaxed, and they feel more open to discussing things with you. But if you just ignore what they say, and then as soon as they stop talking, you try to push your point, they're probably not going to listen, right? And this happens with like family arguments between couples. Often the problem is that we don't listen to each other enough, or we don't show we're listening. Because you can listen, you can understand everything, but if you don't show it and the other person doesn't feel that you're listening, they won't care. They'll still be angry, they won't calm down, and you'll just be crashing together like two brick walls. So, yeah. But anyway, there was 2 points. Let me quickly look at the comments. So many letters that I don't know. Yeah, it's called marriage. Yeah, marriage is difficult, isn't it? But anyway. And linked to this, emotions are important, right? Now, earlier I said that the whole purpose, the whole meaning of debate is to find the truth, right? But of course, if we believe we already know the truth, why talk to other people? I don't need to tell them about all of the secrets and truths of the world. I know it. Another reason why we debate and discuss with each other is because we want to share the truth with others. Now, do not confuse this. Many people say that they want to share the truth with others because they believe they're correct. But many people actually just want to push their opinion onto others. Or maybe they just want to show they are the one that's right. And this is a big problem. But it's human nature, right? I think people who are truly interested in and passionate about finding the truth, finding the best way to navigate this, crazy world, they are open to being wrong. They are open to having their opinions changed, right? And I think ego and pride are some of the worst things about humans. I think it's one of the things that can cause a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of chaos in our lives. But emotions are important, right? But on the flip side, being too worried about emotions, if it stops you from having this honest discussion, you don't want to say this negative thing because you're worried you might make the other person feel uncomfortable. If it's a casual situation, like you're with family or you're talking with a friend, then maybe that's the right choice because your relationship is important. But sometimes you've got to just put your foot down and discuss these things and stop beating around the bush. But yeah. Anyway, I'm a bit confused. What kind of truth? Just the truth. Any truth, right? For example, vaccines cause autism. Some of you might believe this, some of you might not. Personally, again, based on scientific research, and from what I've heard from doctors, again, I'm not the expert, I don't think they do. That's what I choose to believe, right, based on all of these things. But it's so difficult. Because what we believe is truth right now might change in the future. We might get a new way of looking at things. It's kind of like, the flat earth versus the round earth. And this is why there are so many people in many parts of the world exploring many different subjects. One day they might reveal a truth that we thought was just fiction. So that is very exciting. But anyway, to get back to the topic. politeness hides truth. So this was a point I talked about earlier, worrying too much about hurting other people and not saying things, even maybe like telling a white lie is an example. Sometimes we even lie. We cover the truth with a sweet, sweet dessert that is much more easier to digest than the truth, right? But as you know, yeah, it might help people in the short term. It might give them a nicer dream to escape from this harsh reality. But I don't know if they can escape that reality forever. And then, maybe, this is an interesting point. You can be polite and honest. It is difficult, and you need to be very good at controlling your emotions. It depends on your personality, but the way we use our words can completely change the flow of a discussion and how the other person reacts to what we say, right? Changing the order or just adding an extra phrase can show, more or less respect to the other person. Now, I know some of you are very worried about, how can I disagree with somebody but be polite at the same time? I think that's a very important skill, right? To give you an example, what's a good phrase to use to disagree but be polite? Well, one thing, I said this earlier, but it's to repeat what the other person says, right? To show that you're listening carefully, and then you add your opinion, okay? Because if you just jump in with your opinion very quickly, one, it shows that you're more worried about the timing of when you want to speak instead of what they are saying. And two, I had another point, but I've completely forgotten. It's 11:20. I'm getting tired, guys, so I apologize. But yeah, how can we disagree and be honest? So parroting, repeating what they say. You can also say things like, asking questions, trying to challenge their ideas by asking questions instead of just saying you're wrong. You could ask them, okay, if this is true, why do you think that? Then they'll give you more information. This also gives you more time to kind of find mistakes with their argument. Now, again, I'm not saying find mistakes like, haha, I beat you, you're wrong, yeah, get out of here. We want to have a productive discussion. So finding mistakes because you want to find the truth. And by finding mistakes, we can kind of maybe change our answer a little bit. Yeah? Because, your answer can be 80% correct. Just because you find one or two mistakes, that doesn't mean their whole argument is wrong. So I think, asking questions, being very open, being okay with being wrong, this is the best way to both find the truth together, right? It's not just a one-way thing, like, I know this, you have to agree with me. I like to see debates and discussion as a way of talking together, exchanging ideas. You're both at this kind of starting point, and you're both working together, driving this car to this final destination, which we call the truth, right? Instead of a tug of war where you're trying to pull the other person to the other side. I don't think debate should be treated as a competition or a battle. So, but anyway, maybe it's better if I say discussion instead of debate. But anyway, so sorry, going back to the comments. Yeah, debating in English. That's right. Okay. By the way, why do so many people think that I'm playing a video and not live streaming? Like, am I not responding to your comments? Can I respond to comments if it's a video, like pre-recorded? Maybe I'm missing something. Anyway. Yeah. Another interesting point is that truth builds respect. Nowadays, people do lie a lot. We tell white lies and we beat around the bush. We avoid offending other people when we try to fit in. It's just easier to live in society like this, right? It's not always happier, it's not always better, but it is often easier. So when there are people who go against, the norm, they're not afraid to stand out and have a different opinion. That needs courage and bravery, and that's something to be respected. Yeah. And what was it? My brain is really starting to struggle now. I apologize. But the truth build respect. Not being afraid to stand up for what you believe in, and not being afraid to speak the truth. That does require a lot of bravery, preparation, research, and all of that stuff. So I would say, definitely, truth builds respect. You need a lot to tell the truth. Not just in terms of bravery, but also knowledge and persuasive power. Right? I'm using my hands a lot. I feel like I could generate the power of the sun with how much I'm moving my hands. But anyway, and then finally, on the flip side, anger creates chaos. If the other person is angry or, disappointed, they don't agree with what you're saying and they don't like what you're saying, their brain might just turn off completely, right? There's no point continuing the discussion after a certain point. And this is why, when you have an argument with your significant other, your partner, or a friend, or just anyone really, usually it's better to just stop and say, hey, we're both, going nuts right now. We're both very emotional. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Right? That's okay. It's actually one of the best things you can do, because nobody can think even clearly and when they're angry or emotional. And often you'll just start repeating things like, no, but I said this. It's like, yes, I know you said this, but I told you that's wrong. And then it's just repeating, you're getting tired, it's just pointless, right? But when you get some space, get a good night's sleep, and clear your mind, it's like doing a puzzle. Sometimes coming back to a puzzle after some time can give you some new ideas. It gives you time to reflect on the things that went wrong. Anyway, I Bibi says, is it like a TED Talk? It's like a TED Talk, except it's just one person talking about absolute rubbish, and it's one person who's pretending they are very smart, but actually, they know nothing. Anyway, I apologize. It's because the way I speak like this, one reason is because I'm a teacher and I have to be very clear and, how do I say it? I have to be clear. But also, sometimes I make videos and I have to think about how to speak in a very, like, not so boring way. So, that's why maybe I sound a bit weird. And that's maybe why you guys think it's a video, is because I'm not speaking casually. But if you listen to me earlier when I was speaking to the guests on stage, like, that was a lot more like my natural personality. But anyway, yeah. I think we can finish there. It's 11:30. I'm starving. I'm tired, my brain isn't working, and I feel like I'm going to go crazy. So, I'm going to have a quick look at some of the final comments. So let's have a quick look. Truth, yeah. Giving lectures. Because you're speaking too slowly. I see. So should I speak a lot more quicker at my native speed? Good, got that? Okay, right. Alright, let's go. But you're not a native speaker. Well, I will let you decide if I'm not a native speaker. However, I will give you some advice as an English teacher. Varying your rhythm, taking your time, and not always speaking quickly is personally the way I like to speak. And I think it's one of the best ways to, how do I say it? People these days focus too much on fluency, being fast, getting your ideas across very quickly. But as you can see, not just me, but when people try to speak quickly, emotionally, and they just say the first thing that comes into their head, that's not always the best idea. And often, how often do you come up with your best idea first? I can tell you right now that a lot of my ideas, my first ideas, are generally not the best. So some of you might think, oh, he must not be a native speaker because he speaks very slowly. To be honest, if you think that, that's totally fine. I'm not here to say, hey, I'm the best speaker on earth. I'm actually quite a bad speaker, in my opinion. I don't always use the best words and things like that. Not good. But I do think people need to focus more on being clear instead of trying to sound fluent. I generally respect people who take their time and choose their words carefully more than people who just say the first thing that comes to mind. But that's not a bad thing. And in casual conversation, this like smooth flow and not thinking too much is good. So, depends on the situation. But here I'm talking about a lot of things, a lot of difficult topics that I'm not always so familiar with. So I want to be careful with how I say things. Like, especially, for example, what's the meaning of the word debate? What's the dictionary definition? I can pretend to be confident and tell you it's this, this, and this. But to me, the more important thing is being right. My job as a teacher is to teach you the correct English, to teach you the right things. So I wouldn't be doing my job if, I didn't think carefully. So I hope this answers your question. Was there a question? Anyway, critiquing the opinions without judging them as right as wrong. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I like that, Selena. Yeah. Mia, shut it down already. You're very right. So, um, thank you very much to all of you on the Hello Talk side and what you call it, the YouTube side. It feels to me like you think too much when expressing yourself. I do think too much. I'm an overthinker, and I like to have these like super deep discussions. I get sometimes I get a bit bored of small talk. Sometimes, yeah. But to be honest, like, all small talk, when you move on to a different topic and you learn about the other person's interests, I like that part. But the weather, hey, it's cloudy today. Oh my gosh. Anyway, thank you, Mio. It was great to see you. Yeah. And I hope you all learned something. I hope you got some good listening practice while you are listening to me talk absolute nonsense and rubbish. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Please take care. And if you want to find out about my next event, you can find out here on my YouTube channel and other stuff like that. Okay? Take it easy, stay safe, have a nice weekend, and cheers. See you guys soon. Bye. Where's the button?